begin. And begin.
She Sleeps Above. Screenplay by Devin Young. White. Wind howls, hooves clop, a wooden cartwheel creaks, fade in. Exterior, edge of the forest, sunrise. The dark tree line stretches into nothingness, barely visible behind the white fog and flakes of snow. A cobbled road runs alongside it, a dirt track forking off into the trees. The shadow of a cart nears, and from the white emerges three silhouettes on top, wrapped against the elements. Robert, 35, beside Grace, 17, Dorothy, 11, in the back. The cart pulls to a stop. Robert reaches into the back roughly, tosses out a sack.
You can walk the rest. Follow the track north.
Grace doesn't move, head bowed, shivering. Robert slams his hand down on the front of the cart. She obeys. Drops down into the snow. He drops a white cap down after her.
Wear this at all times. Hair always covered.
Yes, Father.
Grace picks it up and puts it on, eyes still down.
Be back here in 7 days, sunrise, with the news I want to hear.
Grace looks up to Dorothy. Tears streak the young sister's frosted face, fearful. Robert pulls the reins and the cart lurches away. Grace keeps her eyes on Dorothy as she disappears into the fog. A beat. Grace slings the sock into her back, walks away. Exterior, forest, day. Grace trudges through the snow, hair now tightly covered by the white cap. Trees leer up around her. Her teeth chatter. Nearby, a crow squawks. She pushes on. Exterior, oak tree, later. She passes a small clearing. In the center stands a thick oak tree, high branches spanning outwards. She sees something embedded into the bark. Peers closer, a crossbow bolt. She pushes on, picking up her pace. Exterior. As Grace walks, the shadow of the manor looms up in front. Its brickwork is dark, its windows unlit. It's in Gwent Wells, 1612, Saturday, the 19th of December. Above the door, a figure watches from a window, unmoving. She hears a rustling beside her. Tucked into the trees, a small wooden shack stands beside a chopping block, an axe buried into it. She hurries to the manor door and knocks, and waits. The wind howls. She knocks again louder. Nothing. Another rustling behind her. She scans the tree line. Empty. She checks the handle. Unlocked. She shivers, and with a deep breath, she opens the door. Interior, entrance hall. Grace dashes in, closes the door behind her, cutting out the wind and billows of snow. And looks. To her left, a living room, faded paintings mounted on the walls. To her right, a dining room, lit restless orange. And in front, a staircase leading up into the darkness. She heads right. Interior, dining room. The open fire crackles in the hearth. A musket hangs above. In the center of the room, a large table seats 8. On the far wall, the door to the kitchen sits ajar. Grace crosses to the fire, warming herself on the flame. Floorboards creak above her. She looks up, then back down at the door she came from. No one in sight, but something catches her eye. In the corner on the floor, a strange leaf, dry, green, flecked with purple. Grace bends down to look closer, and a door opens behind her from the kitchen. She jumps, stands, and turns.
Grace, is it?
Bessie, 50, frilled, face creased into an aged smile.
Yes.
Don't fret, dear. My name is Bessie.
I'm here for the placement.
The new housemaid. Don't worry. I know. The other girl just arrived this morning.
She helps Grace with her cloak, notices the frost.
Freezing.
From the kitchen doorway appears Anna, 19, playful and pretty.
Grace, that's right, isn't it?
Grace nods off guard.
I'm Anna, your competition. Not that we can't still be friends.
Come along, girls. I want to have you scrubbing floors by sundown.
Anna takes Grace's hands and leads her. Interior, servants' room, moments later. A small room leading off the kitchen. Shelves are lined with cloths, preserved food, and other trinkets. The floor is taken up by a large bed, wood and straw. Bessie shows Anna and Grace.
This is your room. You'll share it for the time being. Leave your things here. You can sort them out later.
Grace tucks her bag into the corner. Interior, kitchen. Bessie leads the girls in.
The kitchen. You'll take it in turns to help me cook and wash up. It's all basic stuff. You'll know what to do.
Grace looks out the window. Outside, the wooden shack is visible through the snow. A shape moves inside. She watches.
Who will you be helping tonight?
I haven't made the plans yet.
Can I volunteer?
Of course.
Who sleeps there?
Bessie
That's
follows
Reese.
her gaze.
That's Reese, the groundkeeper. You don't need to go outside, so don't worry yourselves with him.
She hurries on, and the girls follow. Interior, living room. Moments later, Bessie draws back the curtain, lets light in. The room is dusty, the fireplace cold. Ornate furniture long untouched.
This room hasn't been used much since, well, Lord Pritchard prefers to work in his study at the moment. Just the occasional dust and tidy will be fine, and a fire to stave off the chill.
She lets the curtain fall back. Interior, entrance hall, continuous. The three ascend the stairs. Bessie holds a lit candle.
Isn't it strange? There's a big house and we're only 2 other servants.
She nudges her, grinning. Grace nods, smiles, hurries on. Interior, landing. They reach the top of the stairs and begin to walk through the corridor. Bessie pointing out the doors.
My room, the guest room, Edmund's room, the stores, and leading up to the attic and Edmund's office. No one is allowed in there without permission. Understood?
Understood.
Don't mean
Grace
to
nods.
scare you. I just need to be clear. So let's get you started.
Interior, kitchen, later. Bessie washes dishes. Anna and Grace dry them up.
Come on, a girl like you must have some stable boy hounding over you.
No, not really.
Not really. So there is.
There's not.
Lies. Lies, I tell you.
Grace starts to flick water back. Awkward yet happy. When the door opens and in walks Edmund, 44, scruffy, unshaven yet dominant. The figure in the window. Master of the house. Bessie stops, turns and bows her head. Grace follows suit. Anna a moment later.
Lord Pritchard, it's a pleasure to meet you at last.
Edmund looks between the two girls, pauses, then
Follow me.
he takes a plate of food from the counter, then walks out. Grace looks at Bessie, who nods, unusually solemn.
Go with him.
Grace follows. Anna watches her go, jaw tight. Interior, Edmund's office, moments later. Grace enters. A desk sits in the center of the room, chairs on each side. The walls are covered with bookshelves, old books, papers, and parchments. In one corner stands a large cabinet, glass, front painted black. Edmund stands to the side.
Sit.
Grace does. Edmund walks behind her. She bows her head, fidgeting with her dress. From the door, a scrape and a thunk. Locked. He walks to the other side of the desk, sits opposite her, stares, intense.
What's your name?
Grace.
You know who I am?
I do, my lord.
You want to work for me after this week is done?
I do.
Good.
He reaches below the desk, brings out a Bible, and places it in front of her.
Christian?
Yes.
You'd swear by it.
Yes.
Place your hand on the book.
Hesitantly, Grace does.
Swear that you will do all that I say, without question or hesitation, and keep all my secrets to the grave.
Grace hesitates, glances down. Floorboards creak above.
Girl?
Yes, my lord. I swear it.
Good.
Grace takes her hand off the Bible.
I'll be assigning you to tend my daughter, Isabella. She's unwell and sleeps in the attic.
Edmund studies Grace's reaction. Her head stays bowed.
Her condition is unusual, of body and mind. Avoid contact at all times. Avoid talking where possible. If she says or does anything out of the ordinary, report straight back to me.
I understand.
You'll see her twice a day, once in the morning to give her breakfast and help her wash, and once in the evening for her supper. Aside from those times, you'll go about your household chores as normal. You will not speak with the other girl on this matter, and you will lock the door whenever you are not in the attic.
Grace looks up confused.
For her health and safety. Her condition is delicate, vulnerable.
Yes, of course.
Are we fully understood?
Why me? Why not the other girl?
Should I ask her instead?
No, I'm sorry. It's not my place to question. I understand.
Then follow me.
Interior stores. Moments later, shelves of boots, books, pots, and heirlooms. A few chairs, a table, and a sturdy locked door. Edmund leads Grace to it, hands her a key.
Open it.
Grace opens the door, hesitates, starts to climb.
Grace,
She looks back. He hands her the plate of food and a candle.
be brief.
Interior attic. Grace walks up the steps, Edmund shutting the door behind her as she rises into the attic. The scene is revealed. Streaks of sunlight break through the boarded shutters, revealing a small bed, table, and large dusty rug over which snakes thick, rusted chains, leading from the struts and into the middle of the room. Where sits Isabel, 16. She wears a white nightgown, lavish and intricate, a stark contrast to the room and chains cuffed to her wrists. Her gaze is withdrawn, lost. But her skin, bare on her arms, neck, and face, it's pale yet crawls with markings, bruise-like but black, blacker than black, devoid of all texture and depth, and shift slowly, like leeches beneath the skin. Grace gasps, and Isabel turns towards her.
Hello?
Grace goes to answer, stops herself, approaches.
Who are you?
Your new maid.
Grace puts the plate down just in reach. Isabel ignores it.
What's your name?
Grace.
My name is Isabel. Well, Isabella, but you can just call me Isabel. I prefer that.
You should eat.
Isabel takes the plate and fork, slowly begins to eat. Grace takes a look around the room.
Have you eaten, that is?
No, not yet.
Do you want some?
Grace notices 2 more rugs on the floor, rectangles leading from the center to the bed and fireplace.
No, thank you.
If you're sure. You started today?
Isabel, I really shouldn't be talking to you.
Why not?
I'm sorry. I need this week to go well.
Isabel's eyes lower. She nods.
Let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
Thank you.
Grace stares at her, intrigued. Isabel looks up and Grace quickly turns away.
Would you be able to rekindle the fire before you go?
Of course.
Grace walks over, takes a couple of logs from a basket by the fireplace, kneels and places them down, gently blowing out the embers. Behind her, Isabel stops eating, watches her, unblinking. Flames crackle up.
Thank you.
Isabel finishes the last of her food. Grace watches, warming by the fire.
Is something wrong?
You're not what I expected. I should get back to my chores.
She takes the plate and fork, starts towards the stairs.
You'll be back tomorrow?
I will.
I look forward to it.
She smiles. Grace smiles back. Interior, stores. Moments later, Grace locks the door to the attic, stands back, looking. The smile lingers on her face. Interior, servant's room, night. Grace unpacks her clothes from the sack as Anna lays on the bed, fiddling with a small yarn rabbit toy. She puts it aside and turns to Grace, grinning.
So,
What?
what did he want you for?
Just to clean the attic.
Oh, really?
Really?
Grace finishes, sits on the bed.
Are you fucking him?
What? No. No.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
She wraps her arms around Grace, pulls her down to the bed.
I wouldn't let him corrupt a innocent little soul like you.
Thank you.
What's up?
I need to get some sleep.
Tired already. Okay then.
Thank you.
Grace curls up on the edge of the bed, her back to Anna.
Aren't you going to take off your cap? I haven't even seen your hair. Come on.
Anna prods her, grinning. Grace ignores her, just lays there with her eyes open, waiting. Fade to black. Interior, living room, morning. Grace opens the curtains, the rising sun pouring in through the falling snow, rubs her hands together, warming them with clouded breath. Sunday, 20th of December. She goes to the fireplace, brings out a tinderbox. Interior, kitchen, later. As Grace enters, Bessie empties out the last of a bowl of dried leaves, green and flecked with purple. She gestures to a plate of food sitting on the side.
Go on, pet.
Grace nods, smiles, hurries out. Interior, landing, moments later. Grace reaches the top of the stairs. From Edmund's room, a voice emanates. Grace listens.
No.
My lord,
Did I not make myself clear?
I'm sorry, my lord. Forgive me.
Get out.
Footsteps, and as Grace moves to the shadows, Anna bursts out, pulling her dress back up over her shoulder. She passes Grace on scene. Interior, attic, moments later. Grace tends to the fire, a pot of water boiling above. Isabel sits on the rug, eating the plate of food, a half-filled wooden bathtub beside her. Both stay silent, exchanging only the occasional shy glance. Isabel finishes her meal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Silence again. Grace has the water, not ready.
At first, he thought it could wash off. If I just kept clean, maybe it would go away. Maybe he still does. What do you think of him?
Grace keeps her gaze on the water.
It's okay, Grace. I won't tell.
A pause. Grace reluctant. Then.
He seems generous. Not much of a talker.
Less than you.
Isabel pushes the plate aside, shuffles closer to Grace.
Do you like it here?
It's taking some adjusting.
What did you do before?
Help my father, working the fields or hunting in the forest. And at home. My mother, she passed away, so it's just me looking after my sister. It was.
Younger?
Grace nods. Behind her, the pot of water begins to simmer. Isabel smiles, edges closer. Her chains clink.
Mine passed too. My mother, that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
It's fine. It was a long time ago. I don't really remember her.
Mine, 2 winters gone. Since then, my father, it's been...
Grace seems lost, staring into nothing. Bad memories. Isabel leans over, briefly squeezes Grace's hand.
You're stronger than most.
Grace looks down, but Isabel's hand is already gone.
I think the water's done.
Grace lifts the pot, carries it to the tub, pours it in. She tests the water, turns back to Isabel, realizes.
He never gave me a key for...
Gestures to Isabel's cuffs.
He wouldn't have.
How do I...
Just untie me.
Isabel kneels, turns around, her back to Grace. A beat.
It's okay.
Grace approaches. Isabel stays still, cuffed hands in her lap. Grace reaches up and begins untying the nightgown.
I suppose you've never had a nightgown quite like this.
I've never even touched one this nice, let alone worn one.
As she unties, her fingers wander, stroking the fabric.
Your father never bought you one.
He wasn't that type of father.
Another lace falls free, more of Isabel's skin is revealed, and more black markings shifting beneath.
But he let you go outside.
Yes, he did do that.
The final lace falls free. Grace steps away and Isabel glances back at her, smiling.
Cover your eyes.
Grace does. Well, tries. As Isabel's nightgown slips down, she can't help but peek. The markings cover her entire body, streaking up and down her form. They'd be tribal if not so organic. It's almost mesmerizing. It certainly is to Grace. Isabel steps into the tub, submerges herself, handcuffs too.
Okay, you can open them now.
Grace glances at her, then quickly away.
I can go downstairs. Come back when you're done.
No, it's fine. You can stay. I'd prefer that.
Yes, of course.
Grace walks over to the fire, tends to it. Isabel watches her, unblinking.
Could you tell me a story? I've read every book up here 10 times over.
What type of story?
One you'd tell your sister. One with a happy ending.
Grace looks into the fire, thinking, sad eyes, and then...
Far away, in a deep valley, under a hole in the clouds, lies Marzipan Farm. 2 of each animal roam the fields. 2 cows, 2 sheep, 2 pigs, 2 goose, 2 goat, 2 ducks sitting in a sparkling pond.
Fade 2. Interior, guest room, day. Grace wipes down the window, looks out of it, stops wiping, and stares out into nothing. In thought, eyes glistening. In thought, eyes glistening.
Should last through Christmas after I've picked up. Grace, where are you?
On my way.
She wipes the last smudge off the window, then hurries out. Exterior of the manor. Moments later, a pile of crates and sacks sits in front of the manor. A turkey gobbles in a wooden cage. Cart tracks lead away into the snow. Bessie inspects the pile, Anna besides her.
It should last us through Christmas after I've picked up the last few things from town tomorrow.
Looks like we're having quite the feast.
That's the plan.
She picks up a sack and Anna does the same. They turn.
Oh, Grace, could you check the turkey for me?
They head inside. Grace walks over to the pile. She carefully unlatches the cage, takes out the turkey, a hand on each wing, inspects it, then puts it back and carefully puts the latch back in place. As she stands, Anna comes back out the manor, hurrying over.
I can take that.
She grabs the cage and heads back towards the house. As she nears the house, the turkey gobbles, shuffles, squawks, flaps, screeches, panicked, and breaks free. The cage door tearing off as it charges away into the snow. Anna screams, dropping the cage just as Bessie appears in the manor doorway. Bessie looks at Anna, eyes flared with anger. Anna looks at Grace the same, and Grace looks up at the manor. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace helps Bessie put food into the cupboards. She walks past the door to the servants' room, glances in. Anna looks back, cheek bruised, eyes red from tears. Interior, stores, later. Grace holds a plate of food and candle, unlocks the door to the attic, smiling. Interior, attic, later. Grace and Isabel sit together on the rug. Isabel eats.
It broke the cage.
It went mad, flapping about like it was fighting for its life.
Spooky.
I think Anna blames me. I definitely shut the cage, but I'm just not sure she'll believe me.
At least you'll be getting the job.
Yeah, if I don't make a mistake too. You should have seen her face when it was flapping about.
Show me.
Grace pauses, shy, then leans her face back, widening her eyes and opening her mouth in theatrical fear. Isabel bursts into giggles. Grace breaks the face and joins in.
A formidable enemy to make.
She seems nice enough.
If you say so.
She takes another forkful of food, bemused.
Are you jealous?
I don't. Excuse me. I'm just trying to look out for you.
Look out for me.
Of course. You're my only friend.
There's not exactly much competition.
They giggle together.
I mean it, Grace. You're a truly good person. I can see that.
Thank you. I'd better head downstairs and make things right with Anna before she goes to sleep.
Quite right.
Grace takes the finished plate and stands.
I'll see you tomorrow then.
See you then. Sleep well.
Interior, servants' room, night. Anna is lying on the bed when Grace enters.
Anna, I didn't...
Don't mention it.
When Bessie...
Really, Grace, it's fine. You made a mistake. No big deal.
You're not angry.
Of course not. I'm sure you didn't mean to.
Her lips smile, her eyes do not.
Thank you.
She gives Anna an awkward hug, lays down beside her.
How was the attic?
Messy as always.
The two lay on their sides back to back.
You seen Lord Pritchard today?
No. Did something happen?
Never mind. Good night, Grace.
Good night.
A moment in thought, then Grace closes her eyes, fade to black. Interior, living room, morning. Grace walks to the fireplace holding a basket. A few logs are stacked besides. She picks one up, sighs, puts it back. Interior, entrance hall, later. Grace wraps a cloak around her. Monday, 21st of December. She takes a deep breath, heads out. Exterior of the manor. Grace trudges through the snow round the side of the manor. The wind shrieks, snow whips up. She passes the wooden shack and chopping block. The axe from before is now gone. She reaches the wood store, begins to load logs in the basket. 1, 2, 3. A noise behind her. She turns, and a man lunges towards her, face scarred, clothes ragged. Grace screams, stumbles back. The man advances, moaning, growling through twisted lips.
Please, please, I don't...
Reese!
Grace turns, as does the man. Reese, 38. Edmund stands in the snow, the musket in his hands.
Walk away, Reese. I've got this.
Reese steps back, glares at Edmund, grumbles, then backs off into the snow. Grace watches him go, then turns back to Edmund.
Thank you, Lord.
You were told to stay inside.
I'm sorry. I just needed to get some firewood for...
You need more firewood. You tell me. Stay inside.
He turns and begins to walk away.
What happened?
He gets nervous. He panics.
But his face, his voice...
Edmund stops, turns, a dark stare.
Hurry now. It's cold out.
Grace follows him back inside. Interior, attic, day. Isabel sits in the bath, washing her arms with a brick of soap. Grace avoids looking at her, further examining the barren room. She feels the rug, dusty, and the floorboards, powdery. Inspects her fingers, grains of faint purple. She glances over at Isabel, gaze lingering. Isabel notices.
You're staring.
Grace quickly turns away.
Sorry.
It's my skin, isn't it?
Yes.
Isabel offers her Isabel offers her arm. The chains clink.
You can touch if you want. It won't spread. You're safe.
Grace goes to decline, but stops herself, glances to the door, then slowly approaches. She reaches out and touches Isabel's arm, softly runs her fingertips across the markings.
Do you know what it is?
When I first got sick, Father searched every library in Gwent looking for a cure. I think he gave up a long time ago.
So he just keeps you locked up here?
Hidden. I'm an embarrassment. A freak. He's already got a son wandering the world, making fame and fortune. He doesn't need me. So he moves out here to the middle of nowhere and keeps me hidden away until I rot. I'm sorry. You don't want to hear about this.
No, it's fine.
It's just, I truly do hate him sometimes. Maybe I'm a bad person for saying that, but I truly do.
She looks up at Grace, tears welling. Grace puts her hand on Isabel's shoulder, pauses, then.
My father beats me. When Mother died, he turned to drink every night without fail. And every night when he'd come into my room and he'd...
She takes a deep breath, fights tears.
But I had to endure. For my sister. to protect her. I'd tell her one day we'll go home, home to our mother, home to Marzipan Farm, our real home. And she believed me. I wonder if she still does. If he...
She chokes on tears. They flow free.
He told me to come here, and I should have stood up to him. I should have said no, should have refused. I was just so scared of what he'd do. I didn't want to face. But now she's there, all alone, and I wish that I could have. You're not wrong to hate your father. They can be. They.
She breaks down, sobbing. Isabel rises up from the water and embraces her. Grace hugs back, facing Isabel's shoulder. For a moment, they're still, vulnerable, together. Isabel pulls back, face up to Grace's, leans forward, and kisses her. Kisses her. Grace is shocked. She gasps. She freezes. She pulls back.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
I need to go. I have other. I need.
She stands, stumbles, walks.
Grace, please.
Grace hurries down the stairs. Interior, stores, continuous. Grace bursts out the attic, slams the door, locks it, leans against it, panting, scared. Interior, entrance hall, moments later. Bessie puts on a thick cloak as Grace rushes downstairs.
Bessie, I need to talk with you.
Not now, dear.
She opens the door. Snow spits through in violent wind.
It's important.
I'm headed into town, and the storm is only getting worse. Sorry, Pet, but I don't want to freeze. It can wait.
Bessie heads out, shuts the door behind her. Snowflakes drift down. Grace stands alone. Interior, landing, later. Grace sweeps the floor, sullen, worry eating at her. Interior, guest room, later. Grace dusts the bedside table from the landing. A door opens. Interior, landing, continuous. Grace peers out to see Edmund exiting his office, carrying a bulky sack and an old book. She goes to call out to him, stops herself. Can't. Watches as he disappears into the stores. Opens the attic door, closes it behind him. Footsteps up the steps. Grace ducks back into the doorway. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace stands at the stove, stirring a pot of stew. Out the window, Reese chops wood. Glances up at her. She repositions out of his sight. Interior, living room, later. The room is dark. Grace kneels at the unlit fireplace, cleaning soot out of the chimney. From the entrance hall, she hears the front door open, wind howl, then cut off as the door closes again. She stands, takes a deep breath, walks forward, and wham! A window is thrown open, and the wind howls out. She hurries over, secures it shut again, walks to the interior entrance hall, continuous. It's empty. Snow on the floor trails to the interior dining room, continuous. Empty too. More snow. Voices from the kitchen. Door left ajar. Bessie and Edmund. Grace creeps over, peers in. Interior, kitchen, continuous. Bessie unpacks a large sack from a sledge onto the counter. Edmund stands near. They talk in hushed tones.
None of your papers were in, and apparently the blizzard will only get worse. No doubt we'll be snowed in by morning.
You were able to get the Sam Miles route, though?
Yes, that's all here.
She takes out a small sack. Edmund inspects, scoops out some of the contents. A leaf, dry, green, flecked with purple.
This bag should last a couple of weeks. We'll be fine.
People were talking in the town.
Talking?
About you. Just rumors. Strange books, dark arts.
Did you find the origin?
I tried, but nothing solid.
Then we have nothing to worry about. Can this be prepared by morning?
Edmund?
Edmund turns his attention back to her.
Just because I turn a blind eye doesn't mean I don't see. Be careful.
I understand. But I do need...
He spots Grace, falls silent. She panics.
Lord Pritchard, I just wanted to.
Were you spying?
No, I didn't.
What did you hear?
I'm sorry,
I could have beaten you for this.
Edmund,
He stops.
look at her. She doesn't understand.
She hurries over, handing Grace a plate of food.
I think it's time you cleaned the attic.
But I don't think I should be.
Please, Grace.
Grace relents, takes the plate, and walks away. Interior, attic, evening. Grace slowly ascends the steps. The attic slowly revealed. Isabel silently waiting. Grace gets to the top of the steps, stands, sets the plate aside, looking at Isabel. Neither speak, both waiting for the second move. Isabel breaks the silence.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
But Grace is there, arms wrapping around her, kissing her. Fade to later. Grace and Isabel lie together in the center of the rug, in embrace, staring up at the boarded shutters, red light from the sunset breaking through, both smiling, lost in the moment.
I was going to ask them not to let me see you again.
Isabel glances at her.
I thought you should know.
You're scared
You're not?
of me.
Of this? Us?
Isabel puts her hand, small and thin, to Grace's, palm to palm.
It's not wrong.
Isn't it?
No.
But how can you know?
Isabel shifts, rolls half onto Grace, eye to eye.
Because I know. Because no old book can tell me otherwise.
Grace smiles. Her smile falters.
What is it?
I'm leaving. Come Saturday. 5 days. If I get the job, I'll be back. But if I don't, I can't promise.
A beat, suspense, then.
Then take me with you.
You don't mean that.
More than anything.
This is your home.
Is it? We can just go. Run away from abusive fathers and prisons and all this misery. Together.
My sister.
We'll take her too.
What will we do?
Anything but this.
Something clicks in Grace's tone, a possibility, real.
How?
You have the key to the door, access to supplies and warm clothes. All we need is the key for these.
She raises her wrists, the chains clink.
You really think we could get away?
I do.
She smiles. Grace glances away, trepidation, but temptation.
Will you help me?
Grace meets her eyes. It's all it takes.
I will.
Interior, servant's room, night. Grace enters quietly. Anna is asleep, awkwardly splayed, clutching the yarn toy. The candle burns beside her. Grace gently repositions her, pulls the blanket over, leans across, blows out the candle, and lies down, staring up. A newfound glint in her eyes. Fade to black. Interior, dining room, morning. The rising sun pours in. Grace cleans each piece of cutlery on the table, picks up, polishes, puts down, repeats. Tuesday, the 22nd of December. She hums to herself. A new day, a new mission. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace carries in a pile of plates and bowls. On the counter sits a large pan, a green and purple paste in the bottom. She glances at it, confused, carries on. Interior, landing, later. Grace polishes the frames of the paintings on the walls. She goes to polish the doorknob of Edmund's office. The door creaks ajar, a beat. She gently pushes it open, revealing the office, empty. Interior, Edmund's office, continuous. Grace creeps in, closing the door behind her, a deep breath. She crosses the room over to the desk, searching the surface, strange texts, parchments, a round magnifying glass. Not what she's after. She switches to the drawers, pace increased, panicking, rummaging, more parchment, scrolls, and a key. She takes it out, examines it, shiny, too big. No, she puts it back, excitement dropped, closes the drawer. Over to the cabinet, glass painted black. Opens it. Inside are herbs, candles, rune-marked bones, and in the center a large book, cover sewn together, pages different sizes and textures, assembled like Frankenstein's monster. Something is wrong, very wrong. Grace closes the cabinet, steps back, mind racing, and the office door opens.
What the fuck are you doing?
He storms in. Grace fumbles for words.
I was going to polish the stuff on your stuff on.
Edmund smacks her with the back of his hand.
Get out!
He grabs her arm, yanks her towards the door. Grace feels her cheek, seething determination.
I swear you will never set foot in this house.
I came to talk to you, Edmund.
Edmund stops, surprised, doesn't let go, waiting.
Bessie was asking about Isabella,
Asking?
about her condition, how it started, if it's getting worse.
What did you tell her?
Nothing. I just deliver and clean.
I see.
Edmund nods, lets go of Grace.
It only happened last night after she'd been into town.
Edmund taps his finger, mulls the information over.
She asked about the key too. Not to the door, she knows I have that, but to the chains.
Edmund raises his hand to his chest, fidgets with something. Grace notices string around the inside of his collar.
She said that there were two, that you might have given me the spare.
Okay. Thank you for coming to me. If she asks any more, then you tell me immediately. Grace, right?
That's right.
You did good.
Grace smiles, a victory. Interior, attic, day. Isabel sits in the bath as Grace sits beside the tub washing her hair, both playful, happy.
Hold still.
Isabel shakes her head, flicking water at Grace.
Hey!
She splashes water at Isabel, who tries to retaliate, but the clinking chains hold her back. Isabel glares and grins.
I know where he keeps the key. He wears it on a chain around his neck.
How are you going to get it?
I don't know. He locks his door each night. He doesn't drink. Not enough. Though I think there's another.
I think my last maid had one. She unlocked them once.
Well, it's not in his office. Not obviously, anyway.
So what will you do?
Bide my time. Keep searching. We still have a few days. And if it comes to it, I'll take his by force.
Isabel stops Grace, sincere.
Thank you.
A shared smile. Isabel reaches up to Grace's cap, runs her fingers along it.
I've never seen your hair.
Grace looks down, embarrassed.
It's okay.
Grace reaches back, unties her white cap, takes it off, her hair tumbling down. She looks back up.
Hey,
Hey,
Another shared smile.
join me?
in there?
Come on. Why not?
Really?
Really?
Your turn then.
What?
Close your eyes.
Grace turns around, begins undoing her dress. Behind, Isabel continues to watch, unblinking as Grace removes her dress. Isabel turns. Grace, covering herself, walks over, slips into the bath behind Isabel. For a moment, they stay silent, Grace gently scooping water over Isabel's hair. Then,
Your father, when I was looking around his office, there was a cabinet, a book and candles and
And?
what does he do when he comes up here some afternoons?
I don't know. He comes up, makes me drink this strange, and then I wake up and he's gone.
He brings a book up?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Grace runs her fingers along the markings on Isabel's back.
Your sickness, did it begin before or after he started that?
Do you think he has something to do with it?
I don't know.
Isabel turns around.
Then don't worry yourself.
She faces Grace, kisses her, pulls her in. Interior, stores, later. Grace locks the door to the attic, hair again covered by her cap, a smile on her face. She hears footsteps on the landing, looks through to see. Interior, landing, continuous. Bessie holds a tray, steaming cup of tea on top. She walks over to the door to Edmund's office, knocks, a beat.
Not now, Bessie.
But I've got your.
Not now.
Bessie looks
everything-
down, confused. Then,
Is everything okay?
Of course. Just leave it outside. And get one of the girls to bring it up next time. Those stairs must be quite the climb at your age.
Bessie rests the tray down, walks away, concerned. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace stands by the stove while Bessie chops vegetables. Neither speak. Out the window, Reese walks by, crossbow over his shoulder, dragging behind him the carcass of a deer. A crossbow bolt is lodged through its face, the tip extruding at the back, glistening with blood. Reese glances up at Grace, glaring. Grace turns from the window.
Why does he hate me?
Oh, don't mind him, dear.
I never did anything to him.
It was. He had a daughter, Isabella's last maid. She died a few weeks back. Maybe he feels like you're replacing her. It's not your fault, pet.
How did she die?
Sickness. Just the flu.
Sounds tough.
Bessie empties her vegetables into the pot.
Do you know what happened to her belongings?
Lord's got them stored away. Not sure what he plans to do with them, but he told me not to touch them. Why do you ask?
Grace bites her tongue, thinking, then.
I suppose I was just wondering what would happen to yours.
Bessie starts short laugh.
Going anywhere, dear.
That's the plan, isn't it? If Anna and I both do well this week, then we'll both move in and take over from you. Didn't Edmund? I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
You must have misunderstood him. I've worked for the Pritchards all my life. I moved all the way out here, too.
Bessie, it's not your fault. He said that it was because you confronting him, asking questions, but he's a man. At the end of the day, they all want young and pretty.
Grace steps back, takes a plate of food from the counter. Bessie stares at the window, lost.
I should go clean the attic.
Bessie nods, continues looking out the window.
Where were those belongings?
The wardrobe in the guest room.
Thank you.
Grace hurries out. Interior, entrance hall, moments later. Grace passes Edmund, whispers to him.
She asked more. Don't confront her yet. I think she's in contact with someone in the town. I'll try and find out more.
Edmund puts his hand on her shoulder, nods, respect earned. Interior, guest room, moments later. Grace creeps in, sets the bowl aside, opens, searches the wardrobe. In the bottom, a sack. She pulls it out onto the floor. Routes through, eyes widen. From the sack, she pulls out a key. Small, rusting, just like Isabel's cuffs. The one. She stands, turns, and
Grace?
Anna is standing in the doorway.
What are you doing? What's that?
Grace drops the key into the sack and kicks it aside.
I was just doing something for Lord Pritchard.
Do you need any help?
No, I've got to go.
Grace hurries out, leaving Anna in thought. In attic, later. Grace and Isabel sit cross-legged in the middle of the rug, toes touching. Isabel takes spoonfuls of stew, occasionally feeding one to Grace.
Tomorrow morning.
Why not tonight?
The blizzard. We can't travel at night, not like this. Tomorrow morning. I can collect some supplies while I'm doing my chores. Then I'll find a way to distract Edmund, and then we leave then.
Can't wait.
Almost there.
Grace shuffles beside Isabel, pushing aside the chain. Retracts her hand, confusion. She rubs her fingers across the chain, examines them, a thin sticky layer of faintly green and purple paste, like the powder from before, but thick, wet, new.
What is this?
Malt, maybe?
Grace reaches over to the edge of the rug, feels the floorboards, the same paste.
I'll go and ask your father if I can get this cleaned.
It's fine, really. He'll just refuse. Anyway, it'll just be one more night.
Isabel finishes the stew.
I should probably get back down. Don't want him suspecting now.
She starts to stand.
Grace?
Grace stops. Isabel takes her hand, pulls her down, and kisses her, deep and passionate, then out into a hug. In embrace, Isabel stares over Grace's shoulder, unblinking.
See you tomorrow.
Interior, servant's room, night. Grace is lying in the bed when Anna enters. Neither speak. Anna lies down too, staring at Grace, who notices.
Everything okay?
Of course. Are you?
I am.
The Lord's still treating you well.
Well enough.
Not better than I do, I hope.
Anna wraps her arms around Grace, tickling her. Grace doesn't react. Anna twitches with annoyance.
I still haven't seen your hair.
Grace stops her hand.
Anna, we're both tired. Maybe we can talk tomorrow instead.
Anna stops, rolls back, jaw tight. Grace stares up at the ceiling, firm, determined. Fade to black. Interior, dining room, morning. Grace wipes down the table. Out the window, she sees Ray's walking into the forest, led behind him, a saw in his hand. Wednesday, the 23rd of December. Grace smiles. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace stacks food on the counter alone. She takes aside a piece of bread, adds cheese, some salted meat, wraps it up in a piece of cloth.
Use fur, too.
Grace jumps and looks around. Anna sits on the counter behind her, swinging her leg, smiling mischievously.
It will keep them warm for longer.
Anna,
Don't worry. I won't say anything.
Thank you.
We're friends. No thanks needed.
A shared smile.
Could you do something for me? A favor?
Sure.
When Reese starts chopping wood, you'll be able to hear it. Could you distract Edmund for me? Just show him something in our room. I don't know. Could you do that?
Of course.
On Edmund, Anna's eyes widen. Grace doesn't notice.
Of course. I'll be sure that Lord Pritchard is with me.
Thank you so much.
Grace walks over and hugs her.
It's the least I could do for you.
Interior, entrance hall, later. Grace stows two small sacks beside the front door, looks around, unseen. Interior, living room, later. Grace sits by the window, cleaning cloth in hand, looking out across the tree line, waiting. Waiting. She stands, restless, paces across the room, looking around. A painting on the wall covered by a sheet, the corner exposed. She looks at the corner, a pale hand, small, thin. She looks closer, pulls the sheet back. Edmund with his wife, 38, and son, 20, and the owner of the hand, Isabel. But she looks the same, maybe only a year or two younger. Grace examines, confused. And footsteps in the snow outside. Grace scurries back to the window as Reese comes back from the forest, his sled piled high with logs. Grace sits, hiding herself in the window, watches him go. Seconds slip by, waiting, and crack! An axe down onto the wood. It's time. Grace waits a moment longer, heavy breathing, scared, and interior, entrance hall, continuous. Grace enters from the living room, empty, checks the front door, sack still there, and hurries up the stairs. Interior, landing, continuous, empty too. Grace grins, hurries over to the guest room, and interior, guest room, continuous. Grace flings the door open and freezes. Edmund stands there waiting for her. On the bed sits Anna, smirking. Grace goes to speak, and Edmund holds up the key. She stops, despairs. She's already lost. Fade 2. Interior, entrance hall, later. Grace sets down a bucket of soapy water, lowers herself to her knees, a wiry brush in hand, and begins to scrub the wooden floorboards.
I saw her packing food. I knew she was up to something.
She was asking me about the last girl's belongings. Told me you had sent her.
Grace scrubs harder.
I could see it in her eyes. She'd become rebellious, deranged.
And so many lies. About me, about you. I'm sorry, but she's no longer to be trusted.
Grace scrubs harder still.
She's dangerous.
If she's gotten to Isabella...
Leave us.
Harder. Harder.
You are no longer a member of this household. Anna will take over your chores, the attic included. I shall keep the attic key on my person at all times. I will be in control.
Harder. Anger brimming.
You will receive no pay for your time here. As soon as the snow has settled, you will be banished from this house.
Harder, harder.
You will not return here, and you will not ever see Isabella again.
Harder. And she screams, brush flung, knuckles red and raw.
I trusted you, Grace. I thought you were stronger than this.
She sits alone in the puddle of soapy water, head in hands, sobbing. Interior, servant's room, night. Grace lies on her side, staring into the corner of the room, drained, eyes red from crying. Anna enters. Grace doesn't acknowledge.
I knew something strange was happening, but wow, she's a freak.
She sits on the bed.
I think I'd kill myself. Not saying that she should, but I don't think I could handle looking in the mirror every morning to that.
Grace's jaw tightens.
No idea why you wanted to let that thing out into the...
Shut up, Anna.
Someone's a little feisty.
I will slit your throat in.
No, you won't. I know you, Grace. You're weak. You're pathetic. Now, I don't know how many times you had to swallow his cock before he made you his little golden girl, but that's over now. You play dirty. I do too. And I don't lose.
Leans over, lips to Grace's ear.
Sweet dreams.
Grace's tears fall free, fade to black. Interior, kitchen, morning. Grace and Bessie prepare food. Out the window, Reese exits his shack, crossbow in hand, and glares at Grace. She doesn't even look up. Thursday, the 24th of December. Anna enters.
I'm going to head up to the attic.
No problem, dear.
Bessie hands Anna a plate of food and Anna leaves. No reaction from Grace. Bessie notices.
Cheer up, pet. You'll be headed back home soon. And if the snow lasts until tomorrow, you'll be able to have Christmas dinner with us. You can't be down for a day like that. Big meal, lots of food, drink.
Bessie, I'm sorry. Maybe we can talk another time.
Sure, I'm here if you need me.
Why do you continue to serve him?
What do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean.
Edmund, Lord Pritchard is a good man.
Have you seen the books in his study? Do you know what he does when he goes to the attic? Do you even know what's wrong with Isabel?
I know enough.
Enough? I've heard it from your very lips. A blind eye. You let him do evil things for what? Loyalty? Fear?
Grace, there are dark waters you disturb.
You're a coward.
My family has served the Pritchards for 5 generations.
Well, maybe they were cowards too.
You're dismissed.
And now you're just gonna...
Get out! Now.
All motherly kindness gone. A beat. Grace leaves. Interior, landing, later. Grace walks by the stores, glances in. Inside, Edmund unlocks the door to the attic, lets Anna in with the food, then closes it and waits outside, guarding. Grace moves on. Interior, guest room, day. Grace sweeps the floor. She opens the wardrobe, checks the bottom, the sack is gone. But wait, in the corner, a piece of torn cloth. She picks it up, it's stained with blood. Interior, living room, later. Grace sits, watching the tree line from out of the window, waiting again, a newfound mission. Interior, kitchen, evening. Grace and Anna wash up side by side, a static silence. Grace reaches across Anna for the soap, brushes her hand against Anna's right arm. Anna yelps, jerks it back.
Careful.
Grace looks. Anna's right arm is wrapped in cloth. The flesh beneath seems dark, misshapen.
What happened?
I burnt it on the stove.
Out the window, Reese emerges from the forest, dragging the carcass of another deer. Grace begins to walk towards the door.
Where are you going?
None of your business.
What about this?
Grace shrugs. As she leaves the kitchen, Anna calls after her.
Go to hell.
Exterior of the manor, moments later. Grace exits the manor, cocooned in a thin cloak. The snow and wind lash at her. She hurries over to the shack, knocks on the door. No answer. A moment's hesitation as she pushes in. Interior, shack, continuous. Meat hangs from the ceiling, long strips of venison, sliced and salted. The furniture is wooden, rotten, and crooked, dirty sheets and surfaces. In the center, a small fire fills the room with smoke, a kettle hanging above. Reese, skinning the deer carcass on a table, turns, raising his knife, advancing towards Grace as...
I want to talk. Talk. That's all.
Reese stops, lowers the knife, approaches Grace. He stops, scarred, mutilated face just inches from her own. She grimaces at his breath. Reese opens his mouth wide, shows her. Inside his tongue ends early, a rough, bloody stump.
I see.
Reese steps back, point towards the house.
I don't understand.
It clicks.
Evil.
Reese nods. He offers Grace a chair. She sits. He pours a hot drink. Grace takes it, warms her hands.
Thank you. What did he do?
Reese shakes his head.
Edmund, what did he do? What happened?
Reese shakes his head again.
I don't. Evil, yes.
Grace shakes her head. No use.
Bessie. She lets it happen.
Reese nods.
And the book?
Reese looks blank.
Your daughter?
His face becomes grave.
What happened to her? Did Edmund kill her? Or Bessie?
Reese shakes his head, opens the door, beckons her out. Exterior, forest, continuous. Reese leads Grace out the back of the shack and into the tree line. Grace wraps herself around the steaming mug. They stop at a small clearing sheltered by tall trees. In a line, 5 graves. The dirt is maybe 2 weeks old, not fresh, but dark enough to see. 3 are set aside to the right, 1 large and the other 2 smaller. At the end of each grave is a plank of wood, 2 dates carved into each. 2709, 1552, 11 12 1612, 1906 1585, 11 12 1612, 21 10 1576, 11 12 1612, 1601 1594, 11 12 1612, 26 08 1597, 11 12 1612, and 26 08 1597, 11 12 1612. Reese walks to the 3 last ones, kneels in the snow, touches them one after the other. Grace realizes.
Your family?
Reese nods.
What happened to them? Okay, that's it. That's enough.
She drops the mug, looks at the manor, fury in her eyes. Interior,
All
dining room.
right, and that is the halfway point. Nice job, everybody. Really, really good read so far. We're going to take a 5-minute break, so go get a drink and go pee-pee in the potty, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. This is Twitch Film Table Reads. We are reading a feature film screenplay called She Sleeps Above, and it is going great. If you would like to submit a script, please go to twitchtablereads.com. We take TV pilots, short films, and feature films. And this script is by Devon Young. Devon, thank you so much again for sharing your script. I'm going to rejoin our table readers. Uno momento.
Here, I'm a
Hey
bit too hard.
guys, breaks
Hey.
over.
We weren't doing
Uh-huh.
anything.
You weren't doing anything wrong? Okay, that's good. That's good. Cool. So this has been a great table read, you guys. I'm looking forward to the second half. Let's get started right away. Nave, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Hit it.
Interior dining room. Moments later, Edmund sits at the table eating supper. Bessie stands to the side, waiting patiently. Both startle as Grace bursts in.
You bastard!
Edmund stands, steps towards her.
Know your place, girl.
No, not this time.
She grabs a knife from the table, holds it up.
Not this time.
Reese comes in through the still open door to the entrance hall, the woodcutter's axe in his hands. He stops, watching the scene play out.
Put it down.
What did you do?
I don't know what you're talking about, Grace.
You don't have to do this.
I'm here. Sorry.
I should just stand by and watch it happen? No. No more.
Edmund takes a step forward.
You wouldn't dare.
Grace takes a step forward, and then another, and another, and another, walking Edmund back into the wall. His back presses against the wood. Grace presses the edge of the knife against his neck. He stays stoic.
Then dare me.
Bessie grabs a knife. She and Reese start to slowly approach.
Another step, and I'll empty his throat onto the floor.
Anna enters from the kitchen, gasps.
You too, I swear I will do it.
Grace, calm down.
You're going to kill him.
Shut up.
I don't understand.
Oh, really? She told me what he does to her. It was all him.
If you
You're
just
fucking
let...
psychotic.
Please.
All fall silent. Edmund looks at Grace, realizing something, a new tone.
She got to you, didn't she? I don't know how, but she got to you. Into your mind.
What are you talking about?
It wasn't them, was it?
Who are they?
I thought you were their spy. But it was her all along.
What do you mean?
Without breaking eye contact with Grace,
Anna, when you give Isabel her food, what does she talk about?
She doesn't talk. Never. She just growls and grunts.
what? Grace glances at her, then back to Edmund.
What did you do?
You know nothing.
Don't I? Black magic. Murder. I know every...
Knock, knock, knock. All eyes turn to the front door, a long beat.
Bessie, were we expecting visitors?
No, my lord.
And Grace, you know nothing of this?
Grace shakes her head.
Very well. Put the knife down, Grace.
Absolute authority. Grace steps back.
Down.
Grace holds her ground.
Who's out there?
I can't be sure, but if my fears are true, Grace, I need you to cooperate with me. For the sake of everyone in this house, put down the knife. Please.
Knock, knock. Grace relents, puts the knife back on the table.
You too, Bessie.
She does.
Reese, put the axe in the kitchen, somewhere easy to reach.
Reese heads into the kitchen.
Who do you think it is?
Not now.
A beat. Edmund thinking, preparing. Then,
Okay, Grace. Answer the door.
interior, entrance hall, continuous. Grace enters, walks to the front door. Edmund watches her from the dining room. Grave. Knock, knock.
Go on.
She takes the handle and opens the door. Two shadows stand against the howling snow. The one in front holds a cane. The one behind holds the reins of two horses.
May I come in?
Grace glances to Edmund, who nods.
Of course.
He steps inside, dark clothes, leather and fur. He unwinds the cloth from his face to reveal a curled mustache and an inviting smile and glinting eyes. This is Michael, 46. His accent is English, well-spoken. He closes the door behind him.
Good evening, young lady, and good evening to you, good sir. Might you be the master of this household?
Edmund offers his hand.
Edmund Pritchard.
Michael puts his cane under his arm and removes his right glove, then shakes Edmund's hand.
Michael Danby, a pleasure. And the gentleman outside is Jasper, my son-in-law. We're merchants by trade.
Michael finally lets go. He doesn't remove his other glove.
We're not looking to buy.
And neither we to sell, not tonight anyway. We lost the path in the snow some miles back and have been trudging through woodland ever since.
It's a treacherous forest.
Indeed it is, so as contrite as I may be to ask, would you so happen to have a spare room where my colleague and I could reside in until this most dreadful storm has passed?
Edmund mulls it over. Michael waits, smile in stone.
The night will only worsen.
Edmund understands, nods.
I suppose we could accommodate you, if it were no more than a few days.
Wonderful, you have my gratitude.
Go tend to their horses. There should be hay in the stable.
Reese nods. The storm howls as he leaves. A beat of silence, awkward to all but Michael.
Go put the kettle on, won't you?
Bessie hurries to the kitchen.
Help the man with his coat.
Oh no, it's fine, truly.
Silence again. The wind howls outside. The door opens and in comes the other man, revealing his face too. He's Jasper, 20, a smirk and a swab of hair. He drags in a crate and a sack, then tears off his right glove, same style, black leather, and warms his hand on the flame of a candle. The left glove, again, stays on. He glances around, gaze lingering on Anna and Grace.
Do you have a room where we could store our belongings?
We have a storeroom upstairs.
Actually, my lord, I'm in the middle of cleaning that room.
Oh, it's no matter, we are not nobility.
I'll just clear the floor for you.
Be brief. We don't want to keep our guests waiting.
Grace nods, hurries up the stairs. Interior, stores. Moments later, Grace enters, looks at the door to the attic, panicking. She goes to the shelving unit beside, begins pushing it across the attic door, concealing it. Pushes, pushes. Footsteps coming up the stairs. Pushes, pushes. And the shelves slide in front. Just as Jasper enters, a sack over his shoulder, knapsack on his back. The door is hidden. He dumps the sack on the floor.
We weren't introduced. And you are?
Grace.
Jasper.
He eyes her up and down.
And you're a housemaid.
That's right.
You like it?
I do.
Good. That's good.
I should really get back downstairs.
She tries to pass. Jasper puts his hand out, stopping her.
We're just talking. No need to get all flustered.
Jasper runs the back of his finger lightly down her dress.
So this is what they're having you wear these days.
It's not happening.
Come on, don't be a sport.
He rests his hands on her shoulder in mocking sympathy. She slaps it away.
Stuck up bitch.
He slings the knapsack off his shoulder, kicks it across the room, and leaves. A pouch falls out, contents spilling across the floor. An engraved metal cross, the leaf of an herb, green flecked with purple, and bundles of small metal tools. Grace looks closer. They're lockpicks. Interior, living room, night. Grace enters. Edmund sits by the fireplace. Michael sits on the other side. Neither men speak.
Will that be all, my lord?
Edmund looks to Michael.
I'll no doubt retire for the evening soon. Savor myself for tomorrow's festivities.
Then that will be all. Good night.
Good night, my lord.
She leaves. Interior, servant's room, night. Anna is sitting on the bed, shivering slightly, rubbing her bandaged arm. Her eyes follow Grace as she enters. Grace lays down onto the bed and notices Anna.
I'm not going to hurt you. Relax.
No response. Grace sighs, rolls over, blows out her candle. A moment passes, and then Anna does the same. The two lie in the dark, Anna twisting and turning, trying to find comfort, and Grace is silent and still, 3 lockpicks held between her fingers. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace opens the door from the servant's room, creeps out, looks back at Anna in restless sleep, eases the door shut. Interior, entrance hall, moments later. Grace sneaks through the darkened house. The house creaks, storm raging outside. Interior, stores, moments later. She pushes the shelves slowly, quietly, exposing a small section of the door to the attic. She taps on it, waits, a beat. Above, faint chains clink, floorboards creak, and then...
Hello?
Isabel.
Interior, stores, attic, continuous. The two girls separated by the thin wooden door. Grace has her cheek against, listening intently. Isabel, arms strung by a taut chain, stares directly at the door, unblinking. Both speak in hushed tones.
What's happening? Why didn't you come?
Edmund, he found out. Banned me from seeing you, and now these men are here. I don't know.
How are we going to get out?
Grace stays silent, conflicted.
Grace? Are you still there?
Isabel,
What's wrong?
I need to know.
I know what?
Is this real?
What do you mean?
This. Us. Is it real? Are you just using me?
Do you love me?
That's not...
Do you love me?
Isabel,
Do you love me?
of course I love you.
Then you know what you do.
Grace nods to herself, decided, reaches to the lock, trying one of the lockpicks, twisting, lifting, and footsteps on the landing behind her. She starts and snaps the lockpick.
Shit.
Grace?
I've got to go. I'll be back tomorrow, I promise.
Grace pushes the shelves back over the door. Interior, landing, continuous. Grace peers out, empty. She creeps across the landing, down the stairs. Interior, entrance hall, continuous. Empty too. Those strange noises. Is that moaning? Interior, dining room, continuous. Definitely moaning. Grace creeps across, peers into the kitchen. Interior, kitchen, continuous. Jasper stands behind the counter, shirtless, left glove still on, smiling, eyes closed, head tilted back. Then Anna stands up in front of him, wiping her lips, still clothed for now. They kiss, raw, hungry. Jasper slides his hand across Anna, groping her breasts between her legs. He reaches for her dress, peels it away, still kissing her. Interior, dining room, continuous. Grace turns away, bemused, hides herself, waits for them to finish, and a scream! It's Anna, running footsteps.
Hey, what's happened? What's wrong?
A door slams, the servant's room.
I didn't do anything, Anna.
No response.
What the hell?
More footsteps and Jasper hurries out, past Grace, and then into the entrance hall and up the stairs. Grace glances into the empty kitchen, then follows him. Interior, landing moments later. Jasper walks into the guest room, close to the door behind. Grace creeps up, listens in. Movement, then...
What happened?
The girl freaked. I don't know why. She was just undressing.
Did she see your rune?
I kept it covered the whole time. There's no way she could have.
And you found out nothing. Your actions were irresponsible.
It won't happen again.
No, it won't. We need to be absolutely sure before we can make a move. There is no room for mistakes.
I know. I'm sorry, Master.
And then silence. Grace slips away. Interior stores later. Grace returns. Anna is in bed, wrapped in the blanket, quietly sobbing.
Anna?
Get away from me.
Grace retracts her hand carefully, walks around the bed. She lies down, closes her eyes, fade to black. Interior stores, morning. Grace wakes slowly, yawns, rolls over, and screams. Anna crouches in the corner, staring at Grace, blanket wrapped around her, pale and sweating, dark saliva dripping from her lips and bloodshot eyes, unblinking.
Anna? Are you okay?
Anna vomits. Interior living room, later. Grace scrubs the floor beneath the window. Across the room, Michael and Jasper sit by the fire, talking in hushed tones. Friday, the 25th of December. Jasper glances over at Grace. She ignores him. The door opens and Edmund enters.
A word, please.
Grace follows him out. He glances at Michael as he closes the door behind her. Interior, entrance hall, continuous. Edmund speaks quietly.
Anna won't be able to continue her duties for the rest of the day. You'll be helping Bessie prepare the Christmas meal tonight.
Is she okay?
She just wants to be left alone at the moment. We've got her set up in Bessie's room in case whatever she's got is contagious.
What about the attic?
No reaction.
You need me.
Still nothing. Edmund walks away. Interior, kitchen, day. Grace is preparing vegetables alone. Jasper walks in, strides across, grabs a handful of the sliced carrot, and sits on the counter opposite Grace. He watches her, not speaking, eating. Crunch, 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 crunch. Grace can't take it. She turns.
Can I help you with anything?
Maybe.
Crunch, crunch.
I'm really quite busy at the moment, so if you don't mind.
What's up the other one?
Anna?
Think that was it.
Crunch.
She's sick.
That's a pity. Though, I mean, we both know she was a bit shallow.
A beat. Grace laughs. Jasper joins in, lightly unsure.
The way you say we, so hopeful.
He stops laughing.
So, you like it here?
Well enough.
And Lord Pritchard?
Nice enough.
Nothing seems abnormal.
Normal enough.
Jasper glares, drops the rest of the carrot onto the floor.
Why are you being like this?
Like what?
We're on the same side here.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Jasper glares, then snorts, turns away.
Course not. You're just a whore in the kitchen.
He starts walking out.
That's right. Run back to your master and apologize for failing to bring him a bone.
Jasper whips around and advances towards her.
You have no idea. If Lord Pritchard is who we think he is, if the pages have been coming here, once we know why, this house will burn.
He grabs her arm with his gloved hand.
And when it does, I'll take your pretty face and...
Jasper!
Edmund stands in the doorway. Jasper drops his hand.
I need a moment with my maid.
Jasper nods, slinks out. Edmund shuts the door, walks over to Grace.
Are you all right?
I had him talking.
You were about to have him doing a lot more.
Thank you.
I guess like to walk the house when we do. Our whereabouts must interest them. I'll have a chat with them. Nothing important, just asking them about their travels and the like. Shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes.
He hands Grace the key to the attic.
Don't be any longer.
Interior, stores, moments later. Grace rushes in, plate of food in hand. She shoves the shelves aside, unlocks the attic door. Interior attic continuous. She runs up the stairs. Isabel is waiting. They embrace, kiss long and passionately. Grace eventually pulls back.
We're getting out of here tonight.
What's the plan?
After supper, there'll be lots of food and lots of drink. Edmund, the guests, there'll be no problem.
What about these?
Grace produces 2 lockpicks.
You work on getting them unlocked. When the time is right, I'll come up and unlock the attic and then we go.
Isabel kisses Grace.
There's 2 horses in the stable. We can use them.
I can't ride horses.
It's fine. I'll be there to...
I can't, Grace.
Okay, we'll go by foot then. As long as we make it to the edge of the forest by sunrise, we can get back into town on my father's cart.
Perfect.
They embrace, no letting go this time. Over Grace's shoulder, Isabel stares out, unblinking.
I can't wait to feel the snow between my toes again. I miss that.
Soon. Soon.
From downstairs, faintly.
Grace, I need you in my office.
She hands Isabel the lockpicks.
I've got to go. I'll see you soon.
She stands, hurries towards the door, and slips on the rug, falling to her knees.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm...
Grace sees what's beneath the rug. On the floor, lines of molten wax, twisting, circling, crossing over each other, the shape of a pentagram. Below, footsteps ascend the stairs. Michael's voice murmurs. Isabel looks at Grace, wide-eyed, innocent.
I've got to...
She hurries down. Interior, stores, continuous. She shuts the attic door, fumbles with the key. Outside, Michael reaches the top of the stairs. Grace drops the key. Michael's footsteps are near. It's too late. She slides the shelves across. Michael opens the door to find Grace tidying up the contents of the shelves.
Everything okay, Mr. Danby?
Michael's look is blank.
It was Danby, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, of course, all is very much okay. I was just checking up on my belongings.
Grace gestures to the sack.
Untouched.
Very good.
Edmund appears behind Michael.
Grace, may I have a word now?
She's all yours.
Certainly, my lord.
She leaves, slipping the attic key into a pouch at her side. Michael watches her go. Interior, Edmund's office, moments later. Edmund sits on one side of the desk, Grace the other. Both sit tall, equals.
They're not merchants, are they?
Wealthy men for so few wares.
You know why they're here? What they're looking for?
I do.
The book?
Please, don't ask questions.
But you don't want them to find Isabel. She's involved somehow. What do they want
Grace,
with...
the less you know, the better. All you need to know is that they have bad intentions, and there are more where they came from.
Well, if not talk, why have you asked me here?
Edmund brings out a small vial, places it on the desk.
This is the essence of Nightshade.
A poison?
Edmund nods.
What are you asking me to do?
At the meal tonight, if I tell you to pour us some wine, then I want you to slip this into the glasses of Michael and Jasper. Just a few drops will do.
You're asking me to murder them?
Only if I command it. A beat. Grace says nothing and gives him the same. He places his hand on the Bible, still sitting on his desk. You swore on this book, without question or hesitation.
A lot has changed since then.
He pushes the vial towards her. If not for me, then do it for her. A moment's thought. Grace takes the vial, examines it.
You expect to need it?
These men live in shadow. They do not want to garner attention. So while they are still unsure if I'm the one they're looking for, they won't reveal their true intentions.
But you are, aren't you? Am I in danger?
For the moment you enter this manor, from the moment we all did, I'm sorry. It's my fault, all of this. I never should have. I wish you all the best tonight.
Is that everything?
The key to the attic.
Grace's face falls. She tries to maintain composure.
Of course.
She hands over the key, stands, and begins to walk away.
Grace,
She stops, turns back.
it was because you reminded me of her before all this. That's why I chose you over Anna. That maybe you could find her again.
Grace leaves, and Edmund is left alone. Interior, landing, continuous. Grace shuts the door to Edmund's office. From Bessie's room, she hears coughing. Painful. It's Anna. She sounds worse. Grace goes to knock, then stops, decides against it. Interior, entrance hall, continuous. As Grace walks from the stairs to the dining room, she glances into the living room. Michael and Jasper watch her, calculating. Jasper murmurs something to Michael, who nods. Grace hurries on. Interior, kitchen, later. Grace helps Bessie prepare the meal.
Could you pass the rosemary, pet?
Grace kneels, opens the cupboard, reaches for the rosemary. At the back is a bowl of green leaves flecked with purple. Edges of the bowl coated with the paste from Isabel's chain. She takes the rosemary and shuts the cupboard. Interior, dining room, evening. Grace sets the cutlery onto the table, each piece placed with perfection. Reese enters, a large cloth-wrapped bundle in his hands. He unwinds it, revealing the crossbone axe, slots the former behind a cabinet, and places the latter on the windowsill, closing the curtains to conceal it. Places a handful of crossbow bolts into an ornamental pot, then turns to Grace, face grave. A mutual understanding. Fear. Interior, kitchen, later. Bessie checks the oven one last time, ready.
Here we go.
She picks up a large bell and rings it. Ding, ding, ding. Footsteps from around the house converge. It's time. Interior, dining room, night. They sit at the table. Edmund is at the head. To his left is Reese, then Grace, then Jasper, then Michael at the front. The two empty chairs with Bessie at Edmund's right. Bessie has her back to the door to the kitchen. Grace has hers to the door of the entrance hall and stairs. The table is laden with food, cutlery, and plates shine in the light of the candles and oil lamps. The fire crackles in the hearth, the musket hanging majestically above. Outside, the snow falls thick, the howling wind just a whistle against the glass. The perfect cozy Christmas dinner. Yet the silence is palpable. The six exchange glances, waiting for the first move. Michael makes it.
Well, I must say this smells quite ravishing indeed. My compliments to the chef.
Thank you.
May I?
Bessie nods. He carves himself a slice of venison. The others begin to serve up too, slowly, cautiously. Grace takes a smaller portion than the others.
No doubt it is rare for one like yourself to indulge in such grand a meal as this.
Indeed.
Pray I ask when the last was?
This would be the first.
Oh, is that so?
He looks from Bessie to Grace to Edmund, smiling. Floorboards creak above. Edmund and Grace glance up.
It's certainly one of the finest meals that Jasper and I have ever partaken in.
Oh, definitely.
All served, they begin to eat. More floorboards creak above.
Pace yourself, son. There's plenty more to go.
A clunk, another, footsteps coming down the stairs. Edmund and Grace exchange a glance. Michael notes it. Reese glanced to the windowsill. The footsteps reach the bottom of the stairs. The door behind Grace slowly creaks open. Bessie, opposite, looks in horror. Grace turns to see. Anna enters the room and she looks fucking dreadful. Sweating, shivering, so pale that veins stand out, dark against her yellowed skin. She has a blanket wrapped around her. Only her face is visible above it. She walks around the table and eases herself into a seat, opposite Grace, between Bessie and the other empty chair. The door is left open. Through the doorway behind Grace, the entrance hall and living room flicker in candlelight.
Anna! Great that you are well enough to join us, the whole party together.
You sure you're all right, love?
Anna nods.
Go grab another plate, won't you?
She does and places it in front of Anna. Her left arm emerges from the blankets and she starts to serve up. Grace sits back down. The wind outside whistles louder.
So, Edmund, you seem like a man of quite a tale hidden away in this little castle.
There's not much to tell.
Oh, then we'll have plenty more time to talk when you're done. Are you married? Hunting? Solitude? This seems like quite the man's getaway. It wouldn't surprise me.
I was. Until a couple of years ago. Then she got sick. The kind of sick that doesn't last long. The kind of sick you don't get better from.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
As am I.
Anna finishes serving up, starts to pick at her food, only with her left arm. The right stays inside the blanket.
Any children?
A son, 22 years of age. He's out making his fortune.
Well, I hope he finds it. Any other children? Or was the one enough?
He chuckles, a joke. The rest stay silent.
No others. What about you? Have you a wife? Children?
Oh no, that life was never one for me.
Edmund glances at Jasper. Michael's smile stays firm.
I see.
I'm glad you do. And why here, if I may ask? Free from family ties, the world is your playground.
I like the quiet.
The wind howls, the house creaks.
Quite the night we've chosen then.
It certainly seems so.
The two go back to eating. The house creaks, Anna coughs. Behind, gray shadows dance across the walls. Michael takes another mouthful, chews it slowly, studying Edmund, then...
Jasper and I have been thoroughly enjoying our travels through these parts. The places, the people, so rich with culture.
He takes another, chews thoughtfully.
And the stories. The legends.
Edmund looks back up. Michael smiles back.
Works of fiction, of course, but imaginative, if I may say so.
I tend not to waste my time with fairy tales.
Waste? My dear fellow, fiction is not a waste, not of time nor of mine. After all, within each piece hides a heart of truth.
Anna coughs again.
Take, for example, a delightful tale we heard a few towns back concerning a book. A book, you may ask. What excitement could possibly be found in a subject as dull as a simple book? Well, you see, it was the contents of this book that set a light to the imagination, so to speak.
The wind howls again, and in the living room a shutter is flung open, sending a chilling breeze through the house. The candles in the entrance hall are blown out, plunging it into darkness, a trench of shadow behind Grace. The open door creaks in the breeze.
Now, legends say that 100 years ago this book was destroyed, its pages scattered across the land. Why was never known, only that the knowledge it contained was fragmented, and for generations remained that way, copied, passed on, often destroyed, but never forgotten.
Grace, why don't you pour us some wine?
Grace nods, stands.
Jasper, do go help the poor girl. It's the least we could offer.
I'm sure she could manage.
I insist. We are guests, after all.
Grace and Edmund exchange a look. Hopelessness.
Where was I? Oh, yes. You see, the tale really grips me when you hear of the most recent developments.
The wine is on a small table, the bottle with a collection of glasses. Grace reaches it and Jasper is at her side.
Rumors speak of a man, or indeed a woman, trying to recreate that original tome, so to speak, scouring the land, finding all the pieces, and having them sent back to their residence to be reassembled.
Grace pours wine into the two glasses, one by one. Jasper watches her every move, not even pretending to help.
At this point, one may be asking who, but I think a far more interesting question is why? What need would someone have for a book of black magic? Are they just looking for power, or is there more to this fascinating story?
Glasses filled, Grace and Jasper carry them over. Jasper doesn't take his eyes off of Grace.
Some may stop there, but a mind as curious as my own, I decided to dig deeper into the folklore because just before this rumor, thank you, my dear. You see, just before this rumor began to bubble up from the mouths of paupers, there was another tale they spoke of. The tale of an order, wielders of great power.
Grace serves Edmund. He meets her eye, she shakes her head.
They would travel the land searching for children, virgins. Only the purest, most uncorrupted of souls. Of course, they would not steal these children. They were not savages after all. Instead, they would trade them for favors, powers.
Grace sits back down. Edmund has stopped eating. He stares down at his plate. Michael watches him, smiling, a subtle nod to Jasper.
It was rarely spoken of, even known, but there was in fact a way to identify the members of this order. Each wore a black leather glove on their left hand.
Silence. Anna coughs, splutters, wipes her mouth. The wind howls through the house. In the living room, a table falls, a pot smashes. Bessie stands and...
You haven't finished, my lady. We can't have you leaving such a splendid meal. That would be a waste.
Bessie looks at Edmund. His gaze stays on his plate. She sits back down. Michael looks around the table to Edmund, to Bessie, to Reese, and finally to Grace.
Quite the tale, would you not say?
It is indeed.
Michael stares at her, a hint of disappointment. Then...
So here we stand.
He goes back to eating, scooping up the last of his meal. He chews, smiling, enjoying every bite. The others watch him until finally...
Rosemary? For the venison?
Bessie nods.
A fine choice.
He places his cutlery on his plate, straightens them.
So, where was I? The order. You see, for the trade of a single child, one could gain great riches, revive a failed harvest, influence those around them, even save the life of a loved one.
A long beat. The wind howls again, louder than ever before, blowing out the candles in the living room. Grace glances back at the doorway, now in total darkness. The floorboards seem to creak in the shadows.
One might ask, what did the order do with such children? When the trades happened, they would lie, say the children were being taken away to join the order's ranks. Of course, the truth was not quite as simple.
Edmund shakes his head, still looking down.
The children would be imbued with a power, one like no other. Some would call this power unsavory, others demonic, but every child would be put to the cause, becoming a vessel, a host of this power that they could try to harness for the greater good of us all.
Wind. Something else smashes in the living room. Grace glances back again, into the shadows, uncomfortable.
The legends say that a year ago, a Welsh lord found this out, that he slaughtered the members of the order that he had bargained with, that he might be the one who hunts the pages.
The room falls silent. Even the wind seems to lull. Michael still stares at Edmund.
An interesting tale, is it not?
Edmund doesn't reply, doesn't even look up. Michael nods, leans back in his chair.
Might there be plans for dessert?
They didn't save her.
Michael smiles.
My wife. All happened so quickly, and then they arrived and made their promises.
Edmund, where's the book?
But they lied. They promised.
Why are you reassembling it? What ritual are you searching for?
And she died.
What is dead is lost, you know this.
Edmund nods.
Then why do you need the book?
I loved her more than anything.
Edmund Pritchard, look at me.
Reluctantly, Edmund looks up.
I like you. I respect you. All of you. Your servants, your friends, I see they respect you too. You have a good house. A good staff.
Thank you.
Anna coughs.
I don't want to hurt them. But I will.
I don't know what you...
Don't play games with me, Edmund. We both know you're smarter than that.
Anna coughs again, gags.
Time to start talking.
Anna coughs and coughs. Bessie glances at her, concerned.
I couldn't lose her. Couldn't lose her, too.
Anna retches and retches. She tries to grab her wine, but it slips, smashing to the floor. Bessie stands. Michael raises his hand.
Hold on.
Anna retches again. Black bile drips from her lips. Michael glances at Jasper. Jasper returns it, confused. Anna retches, convulses, whimpers, and vomits black putrid sludge under her plate, flowing off the sides. A beat. The black sludge drips onto the table, and then in the center of the plate, something twitches. Bessie starts back. Reese looks at Edmund, furious. All stands as the room erupts.
What the fuck?
You still have the child.
Edmund, what's going on?
Stay away from her.
What is that thing?
It twitches again. It's 8 inches long, leech-like molding and contorting on the plate.
Did you do this?
Bessie, take away the blanket.
What's wrong with her?
Now!
Bessie leans over, rips away the blanket from Anna, and reveals her. On her right arm, where the bandage has been, is a deep burn, grooved in, the flesh around charred. But the skin around, no covering her whole arm, fingertips all the way up to her neck, blackened like Isabel's marks, a textureless void of shadow. And the burn is the shape of a handprint, small and thin.
Shit.
You let her touch you.
But no, this wasn't Isabel.
Isabel?
And how do you know that?
Anna retches again.
Because I've touched her many times. She didn't do this.
Grace, it happened before. With the last maid, I've seen it.
No, it wasn't her. It was him.
What?
I saw them last night.
This wasn't me. My room was covered the whole time. And it's a rune. It can't transfer.
I know. Who is Isabel?
Anna
Edmund?
convulses.
She's
Edmund.
doing it again.
Stand back.
Is someone going to help?
Reese grabs the axe on the windowsill, crosses the room, and without hesitation swings it down into Anna's head. Thunk. She slumps down. Silence again. Michael turns to Edmund.
Where is it? The host.
She can still be saved. The book. It talks of exorcisms, purging.
Edmund?
I've been working day after day. The ritual is almost there. I can feel.
Where are you keeping it?
Crash! Upstairs, wood and metal clatter to the floor, as if something has been toppled over, like shelves. Grace meets Edmund's eyes.
Grace, what have you done?
And then Anna explodes. Her back tears open like a blooming flower. Flaps of flesh peel away like petals, and out erupts leeches. Hundreds of them spilling out across the floor. Bessie screams. Reese dives for the crossbow. Michael lifts his gloved hand. Ka-kroom! The crack of thunder, and Reese is launched across the room, smashing into the wine table as Michael twists the handle of his cane, pulls out a thin blade. He advances towards Reese, who crawls towards the crossbow, and into the leeches crawling up Michael's legs. He swipes at them with his blade as Jasper grabs the musket and thwack, a crossbow bolt buries into his leg. He falls, and Reese stands, crossbow in hand, as
Help me!
Grace covers one of the oil lamps and throws the contents over Michael, over the leeches, hissing and popping as the flames consume them. Reese helps Edmund up, glances up the stairs. Permission.
I know. Do it quickly. No pain.
Reese nods, starts towards the entrance hall.
I'm sorry, Reese. After last time, your family, I should have listened to you. I'm sorry.
Reese nods again and runs out up the stairs. Michael twists, stumbles, battling leeches and flames. Edmund goes for the musket.
You're going to kill her.
Grace, I'm sorry. I have to. I tried to save her, but I can't let the order take her. Use her.
He turns back, reaches up for the musket. Grace grabs a chair, smashes it over his head. He goes down.
I'm sorry too.
She grabs another oil lamp and runs out. Interior, entrance hall, continuous. The room is dark, the stairs are darker. Grace raises the lamp and runs up. Interior, landing, continuous. Runs up, reaching the top of the step, and slips. Falls hard, the lantern flying down the corridor, smashing. Small flames spring up from the puddle of oil. Grace pushes herself up, feels the floor. Wet. She looks at her hands, covered in blood. In the dim orange flickers of light, her eyes follow the trail of blood up the corridor, past Reese's discarded crossbow, past the broken burning lamp, all the way to a body lies across the corridor. It's been torn into, shredded, blood still seeping out. It's Reese, dead. And behind him, white nightgown, stained red, kneels Isabel. Blood drips from her lips, smiling lips. She looks up at Grace, her eyes black, textureless, unblinking.
Isabel?
Slowly, Isabel rises, cocks her head, unblinking.
Isabel, you have to stop this.
Isabel takes a step forward, then another, unblinking.
The people downstairs, your father, they want to hurt you. Please.
Isabel walks towards her, quickening, running, unblinking.
Please.
Isabel drops to all fours, animal-like, scurrying, up along the wall, scurrying, and again along the ceiling, scurrying, leaping down, and bang! A flash, and Isabel is thrown back into the shadows. Grace turns. Edmund stands behind her, musket smoking. Edmund extends a hand.
Come with me.
Interior entrance hall, continuous. Edmund and Grace race down the stairs, too. Michael and Jasper wait for them at the bottom. Jasper holds a candle. Michael holds the cane blade to Bessie's throat. Behind them, the front door is barricaded shut.
Is it still alive?
Please, you don't have to.
We've come a long way, Edmund. The book was one thing, but this, alive, this is far more than we could have ever dreamed of. So many fail. So many hosts lost. She is a miracle.
She's my daughter.
Not anymore.
Michael brings his left hand across the blade, slicing off the leather glove. Etched into the back in his hand is a rune, burned into charred flesh. Like on his arm, but less organic, placed with purpose. The markings extend around it.
With the right rituals, these powers can be controlled, harnessed, wielded, but to do that, we need research and test subjects.
He flexes his hand, wincing as the rune glows.
Great power requires great sacrifice. We all learn that one day.
Movement emanates from upstairs. Michael smiles.
Good. I need you to collect the supplies from upstairs. We take it alive.
Up there?
The stores, you remember? The girl will go with you.
I don't...
Jasper!
Yes, master.
Jasper hands Grace the candle, draws a knife from his belt, and holds it to her back.
Walk.
Grace turns to Edmund.
Edmund, what happened to Isabel?
I'm sorry. Isabella's gone.
Jasper prods the knife against her back.
Now.
Grace ascends, Jasper just behind. Interior, landing, continuous. Grace and Jasper reach the top of the stairs. The corridor is smoky. The broken lamp burns low. No signs of life. Grace turns to Jasper. He's pale. He's terrified.
Are we going?
He snaps back, nods, ushers her on. They pass Reese's corpse. Grace glances down. It's almost unrecognizable. A clatter behind them. Jasper shoves Grace around, keeping her between him and the source of the noise. They take another step, and another. Something scuttles above them. Grace swings the candle up, but the noise is gone.
Hurry up!
Jasper pushes on. They make it to the door to the stores and dive in. Interior, stores, continuous. The attic door is wide open, and the shelves that had hidden it linked across the floor broken, shattered. Jasper reaches for the sack, and Grace shoves him, grabs the knife, and slashes his face.
Fuck!
The knife and candle fall. He screams as Grace runs out. Interior, landing, continuous. Grace runs across the corridor, flailing in the dark. Footsteps charge behind her. She stumbles, lost, and Jasper slams her into the wall. Pins her, grabs her head, leering. His face split open and bleeding, inches from hers.
Get off!
He raises his left hand. It burns with unnatural fire, carving shadows across his mutilated skin.
I told you. I said.
Jasper, please.
No, not this time.
He moves his left hand as to touch her face. Grace screams as the heat singes her skin.
I will make you...
He stops. A pale blood-stained hand rests on his shoulder, small and thin. He turns and Isabel bites down, tears off his cheek. Grace slips free, her maid's cap tearing off Jasper's, his futile grip, and runs, leaving his scream behind. Footsteps behind her again, sprinting. She sees the crossbow, grabs it, swings it around, and clubs Isabel as she leaps at Grace, sending her back into the darkness. Interior, hall, continuous. Grace runs downstairs, crossbow in hand, covered in blood. Michael sees he needs nothing more.
Where?
The kitchen.
They run. Interior, dining room, continuous. Michael enters first, then Grace, then Edmund, who slams the door just after Bessie. They run across the room. Edmund grabs the gunpowder pouch and musket ammunition. Behind them, the door splinters, then smashes. Bessie screams. Leeches crawl up her leg. Grace glances back to see. Isabel crawls across the ceiling, twists her head around all the way unnaturally, shrieks, and drops onto Bessie. They fall behind the table out of view. A scream and blood sprays up, arching across the wall. Bessie, forgotten. Grace grabs the pot of crossbow bolts, empties it into her hand, 6 bolts, then runs for the kitchen, diving through the door, just as interior, kitchen, continuous. Michael slams the door shut, leans against it hard. Thunk, the door shakes from a heavy impact.
You have Samael's route?
Yes. Grace.
She's already there, reaching into the cupboard, bringing out the bowl of green and purple leaves.
On the table.
Grace fumbles, the bowl slipping free, falling. She grabs it, scoops most of the leaves back in. Thunk! The door shakes again. Edmund grabs the kettle from the stove as Grace puts down the bowl. He pours the water in, begins to mush it up, teeth gritted against heat. Thunk! A crack appears in the door.
Hurry up.
Grace is on her knees, scooping the remaining leaves into the pouch of her dress. Her hair falls in front of her face. She takes out the bolts, sets 3 aside, then uses the other 3 to pin back her hair in a pencil bun. She stands, starts, goes to put the leaves into the bowl, but Edmund pushes her hand away, looks at her. It's too late. Thunk! Another crack. And Edmund throws the mushy mixture over the door. It splatters, sloshes, and silence. From the other side of the door, a sniff. Animalistic. Grace grabs the crossbow, loads it. Edmund does the same with his musket. He raises the musket to the door, and Michael raises his blade to Edmund's throat.
Don't even think about hurting her.
Michael,
He turns to her. Grace has the crossbow aimed at him.
put the blade down.
You shot one of those before, girl?
I've hunted before.
Shooting a man is very different to shooting a beast.
I know. A man is slower.
A beat, the 3 standing off.
You have no idea how powerful she is. If that power could be harnessed.
She's my daughter. I will not let you desecrate her memory.
Would you rather she died for nothing?
She died for her mother's life, and that failed. But it ends here.
Footsteps from behind the door, walking away.
You disappoint me, Edmund.
In the dining room, a window smashes. Michael turns, hand raised, and ka-kroom! Grace is launched back, smashing into the counter. Michael grabs the crossbow, and before Edmund can turn, thwack! The bolt hits Edmund in the gut. He convulses, drops to the floor. Michael grabs the 2 set-aside crossbow bolts and runs out. Grace crawls her way over to Edmund. He coughs. Blood. Outside, a horse gallops away.
We can't. He can't get to her. Help me up.
Grace hoists Edmund onto his feet, supports him, his arm over her shoulders. They stumble towards the door. Exterior of the manor, moments later. They stumble out into the snow, head to the stables. Edmund clambers onto the remaining horse, grimacing at the pain. Grace hands him the musket, then climbs on behind him. Together they ride into the night. Exterior, forest, later. Edmund and Grace gallop through the forest, following tracks in the thick snow. In the distance they hear faint rumbles, cracks of thunder. The same as the magic from Michael's hand. They push on, further and further. Past displaced snow, roofs, trenches, splatters of red and black, the echoes of commotion. Further, past the stumps of small trees newly splintered as if blustered apart by great force. Further, and then their horses neigh, rear up, launching them off. They hit the snow, the horse gallops away. Edmund coughs again, blood sprays across the snow. Grace helps him up. He fumbles with his musket, manages to keep hold of it. On foot they push on. In front the trees thin into a clearing. Exterior, oak tree, continuous. Edmund and Grace enter the clearing. In the center stands a thick oak tree, high branches spanning outwards. They scan the tree line, dark, still, empty. Edmund goes to the tree, leans against it, panting. He shakes his head.
I can't.
Grace walks towards him and stops, looks down. Blood drips in the snow, melting it down, warm. Grace looks up. Blotchy shadows line the dark branches. Her eyes adjust. Not just shadows, they're solid, red, raw. Flesh and fur and skin and bone. Chunks. Chunks of horse and chunks of man. Michael. She turns to Edmund.
I know where.
She trails off. Edmund stares out into the forest. She follows his gaze, a shadow moving. Steps into the moonlight. It's Isabel.
Edmund.
He stares.
Edmund.
Edmund raises the musket, takes the shot. Bang! It shoots past her into the trees. Grace rushes to Edmund's side, helps him with the gunpowder, slides in the ammunition, pushes it down the barrel. Isabel is walking towards them, muttering under her breath. Edmund takes aim again, unsteady. Bang! It goes straight through her side. She bleeds back, no reaction. Grace helps Edmund load the musket again. He coughs up more blood, eyelids drooping. She's losing him. Isabel walks closer, slowly, smiling, still muttering. The words can't be made out. Maybe Arabic, maybe older. Musket loaded. Edmund turns to Isabel.
Go. Run.
He
Get
reaches
out
up
of
to her.
here.
He reaches up to her.
Your father. Make sure he leaves. We can't let her get to the town.
Grace nods. Edmund strokes her face one last time, eyes glassy.
I'm sorry, Isabel.
Grace squeezes his hand, then runs for the tree line. Behind, she hears a bang, then a scream, Edmund scream, and then silence. She doesn't look back. Exterior, forest, continuous. Grace runs as fast as she can. Thorns claw her dress, tearing at it. She doesn't stop. Branches whip her face and arms. She doesn't stop. She jumps across ditches, clambers over mounds, and then trips. She falls into the mud, a beat, heavy breathing, sobbing. She looks to see what tripped her. It's the crossbow. Slowly, she reaches out, takes it, holds it, grips it, looks up, back towards the oak tree, a newfound fire within. Exterior, oak tree, moments later. Isabel crouches beside the tree over Edmund's corpse. She tears into it, scooping out handfuls of entrails, rustling behind her. She stands, turns to see. Thwack! A crossbow bolt shoots out from the darkness, hitting her in the stomach, pinning her against the tree. Out from the tree line walks Grace, head held high, crossbow held firm. Grace reaches up, taking another bolt from her hair, and reloads the crossbow. Isabel screeches, inhuman, lunges forward, but it's held back by the bolt in her stomach. She begins to claw it as, thwack! Another hits her right arm, pinning her to that tree too. She looks up, screeching louder. As Grace pulls the final bolt from her hair, it flows free, tumbling down her back. She lowers the crossbow again and thwack! Isabel's left arm is pinned back too. She flails her forearms wildly. Grace drops the crossbow, walks up to Isabel, just out of her restricted reach. Isabel screeches again, then falls silent, black eyes staring, unblinking.
Is the Isabel I know still in there?
Isabel closes her eyes, then opens them again, and her eyes are no longer black. She looks up at Grace, her pupils big, glistening with tears, wide-eyed, innocent.
Grace, Grace, please. Please don't hurt me. I love you, Grace.
Grace pauses, falters.
I was so scared. I didn't want them to hurt me, but they're gone now. All the bad men. It's just you and me, together.
Grace meets her gaze, pained but not swayed. Isabel closes her eyes again and the tears flow free. She sobs and sobs and... Sobs? No, this isn't sobbing, it's laughter. She opens her eyes, black and bottomless once again. Her voice is deep, dark, demonic.
You never met Isabel.
All emotion drains from Grace. She's done. She tears the crossbow bolt from Isabel's stomach. Black blood spurts from the hole. She reaches into her pouch, pulls out the poison vial and a handful of Samuel's root leaves. She balls her hand into a fist, squashing them tight. Then she reaches up and jams the crossbow bolt between Isabel's teeth, levers them open. She screeches, snaps. In the opening, Grace stuffs the leaves and vial, then clamps Isabel's mouth shut, holding her hand over it. Isabel twists, writhes, screeches in pain, but Grace holds firm, unblinking, until Isabel falls still. Fade to later. The oak tree stands tall, branches spreading out across the clearing, chunks of man and meat suspended within. On the trunk, Isabel is pinned, crucified against the bark, the skin around her mouth dry and cracked. Edmund's mutilated corpse lies in the snow, a dark island in a sea of white, shores stained red. And beneath Isabel, a small fire burns low, its fuel speckled with gunpowder. Grace stands at the edge of the clearing, looking out across the scene before her. It's like a painting. Silent and still. She turns one last time and walks away. Fade to white. Exterior, edge of the forest, sunrise. Robert is waiting beside the cart. He paces, stomping the ground, rubbing his hands together, grumbling. Dorothy sits in the back of the car, curled up in a thin blanket, silently shivering. Saturday, the 26th of December. From the white veil of snow, a shadow begins to form.
Be here at sunrise. That's what I said. As clear as day. I've been waiting here for half an hour. You're worse than that whore of a mother.
Thwack! The crossbow bolt shoots out from the snow and into Robert's chest. He falls to his knees. Grace strides into view. Her dress is soaked through with blood. Her face is cut, blooded, covered with soot and dirt. Her hair is loose, blowing in the wind, and she carries a crossbow in her arms. Robert falls face first into the snow. He dies with a whimper. Grace discards the crossbow and climbs up onto the cart, taking the rein of the horse. She looks back at her sister, whose face is twisted with confusion, but not sadness.
Grace, what's going on?
Grace takes her sister's hand, squeezes it tight, and smiles.
We're going home.
Fade out.
Author! Author! Author!
That was great.
That was
Loved it.
fantastic.
Really good.
And
Wow.
Nave's dead.
So much narration. Nave, take a rest. I will come to you last. Well, that was She Sleeps Above by Devon Young. Again, thank you so much for submitting it. And I think you can tell from the reaction, we really liked it. Let's see if we can get some feedback to help you out, but I think you got a good script here. Kat, what were your thoughts on the script?
Hello. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for submitting. I had a couple of notes on it. I mean, there was a lot that I liked about it, and I didn't write down every time that I liked something about it because I was kind of busy reading lines. So this might sound overly critical with the 4 picky little points that I made on it, but no, it was very, very good. The first point that I made was that sort of around page 40-ish, they're talking about how it's a week. Like she has a week. It kind of feels like a month. I would have some invisible passage of time things, have the staff getting used to each other. I just feel like a week is a super short amount of time for all of this to be happening. And I feel like Isabel's deception might be a bit more, I don't know, deceitful. If it was over the course of a month, then she started out super weak and it seemed like Grace's attention was getting her stronger. You know, she's like starts out in bed, almost unable to move, and starts being more of an independent person. I just felt like that might make a bit more of a strong character point because the whole week thing, it just feels a little bit rushed. And it's like I said, it's a very strong thing. It feels like it takes more time. It's the only thing that kind of lets it down is that you mention that it's a week. So if you kind of cut that out, I think people would just assume that this was taking place over a couple of months. And a week is also a really short amount of time to be trialing somebody who's probably not paid very much, if anything at all. So again, a month feels like a proper kind of trial time. I really like Grace's journey from sort of feeble maidservant to like at the end kind of hard doing what she has to. I don't think you should lose all of her emotion entirely. I feel like having a single tear roll down her face while she's killing the woman who she's fallen in love with might just make it a bit less psychotic break. And I really like the shock ending where she just shoots her dad. But it does dehumanize her a little bit. So I don't know if it's too much, but I did really like it. I was like, yeah, go Grace. That guy is a dick. Let's take Dorothy and go to the place where the sun shines, you know? And that's all that those are all the notes that I made. Didn't have time to write any kind of rap or limerick. But thank you again so much for submitting. It was great. It was paced really well. I really enjoyed the whole supernatural story that you wove. Your world building, is that what it's called, was very good. So excellent work. Thank you so much again.
No
Cheers.
limerick.
Back to you.
Oh, I want a limerick, Kat.
I'll write one. We'll
Work
get back
on
to
it now, and I'll come to you last. Okay, thank you very much. Juxtapose, what were your thoughts on the script?
Oh, sorry, intense. I really enjoyed the story. I agree with Kat on the length of the time that builds up because there's more, development for connection between Isabel and Grace. I'm sorry, I'm floored. I don't have anything overly critical, so I'm just gonna fangirl at this point. Is that okay?
That's totally okay.
Oh my god, this was so good! Like the acting and the story and the world building and but yeah, sorry. I'm a little flustered because of all the talent in here. But yeah, I love the slow build up of the romance. That was very sweet. That was so nice. I was like, oh, this is adorable. And then the shift, that set me back. But I actually do have one thing. I think Anna should be a little bit played, not too much in terms. I didn't really feel, or at least I don't think I probably acted out that way, but that she was really flirtatious because I was a little misguided. Was she flirting with Grace, or did she have a thing for Edmund? I couldn't tell which, because 1 minute she'd be like hot towards Grace and like a sort of, and then she'd be like, but I didn't mean to, Master. So I'm like, wait, what direction is she going towards? I got the flirting from Grace. I was like, okay, but does she like Pritchard, or is she just kind of trying to get in his pants for a job? I couldn't get that. If he was a little bit more more interaction with Pritchard, But other than that, I really enjoyed the story. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, that's awesome. Yes, it's totally okay to fangirl or fanboy over a script. If you just think it's great, I mean, come on, I'm sure the writer loves to hear that, especially since, we're strangers. So I think it could mean even more coming from us if you love it. It's not because you're friends with him. Nobody knows this guy. He just recently joined our Discord, so you're getting true feedback, honest feedback right now. Let's move on to Kelly. What were your thoughts?
I really liked it, but I have just some small concerns. One is that I think instead of using the word fuck, even though it goes all the way back to first usages in the 1300s, you can get far more creative, especially with Anna's asking Grace if she's had sex with the Lord of the Manor. I think what would be a lot of fun for that and would just get the point across just as well, because would be having Anna ask Grace if he was teaching her to dance. Because there were phrases that alluded to sex that were dancing, the shaking of the seats, the shaking of the sheets, making the beast with two backs. But I think it would be a lot more fun for the audience to see Grace get embarrassed, upset with an allusion to sex rather than just say, "Are you fucking him?" It's far at this point, that word is far too 20th century. And you're creating a period piece, because that is the only word, a curse word, popular word, vulgarity in the entire script, and it's jarring to hear it. There are far more creative ways to say what the fuck. There are better words that you could use, and it's just as simple as going and taking a look at Shakespeare, who was writing at this time. This is the period of James I. Gunpowder Plot and all of that good stuff. And these are just things. I've played a lot of living history, which is why I'm picking at these things. Also, in the visual on the burial dates, they would be written out, not the way we would abbreviate a date today. So it would be from this date, January 5th, 1552 to December 11th, 1612. It would be written out. Runes are also kind of passé for magical symbolisms. And the order would be ceremonial magicians. So they would be using sigils. They would, you can look at Dr. D and his work with magic, or high magic, ceremonial magic. And it would be far more interesting, I think, visually to the audience to see something other than a rune. Sigils are basically magical mnemonic devices. If you look at ceremonial magic, you will not, if you look like at a magic circle with a pentagram in it, you'll find Hebrew and other symbols, but you will not find Germanic runes in it. That is also a 20th century neo-pagan device. Character-wise, the characters are really good. I would like to see a little bit of backstory as to why Rhys's tongue was cut out. What did he do that was so, did he, that can be something that can be visualized, not discussed, not talked, but a piece of his backstory would be interesting. But again, the characters are great. Found it a little odd that the servants would be seated at the same table as the Lord of the Manor, but that can be remedied with an invitation, with Bessie saying we've all been invited to sit with the master of the house. So another thing to keep in mind historically on this is that King James I, he of the King James Bible, who had the Bible translated to things that made him feel more secure. you might want to keep that in mind. You know, if you are going to do a rewrite on this, I don't know if this was your final draft or a first draft or what, but you might want to bring some of that sort of religious paranoia, Catholic versus Protestant paranoia into this. Is Edmund a Catholic? Is the order Protestant? Is there a threat of Edmund's being accused of witchcraft? You know, as part of this leverage to get the book. There's a lot of devices that can be used just going on the history of the time. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for letting me read this. It was a great script.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kelly. So now I'm going to read some feedback that comes from one of our viewers. Give me a second here. It's in really tiny writing. Okay. So this is from Merrick Slovane, who is watching us on Twitch. They say, this script has an excellent sense of space. We can draw a map of this house, which is extremely important in such a confined story. Well done there. Grounding this in the relationship between Grace and Isabel is a brilliant decision. Two well-drawn, if duplicitous women leading a period horror piece? Perfect. By the time the climactic bloodbath occurs, I feel very confident in Grace as a capable heroine. We may not have seen her physical abilities, but she's not helpless. One thing that bummed me out was the entrance of Michael and Jasper distracting from the Grace-Isabel relationship. I see their purpose, and they're both well-drawn characters, especially considering how late they appear, but I feel like we need a reminder of the core relationship. Grace gains suspicion of Isabel through that showdown in the kitchen with Edmund and Bessie, and then we're immediately introduced to Michael and Jasper. Give Grace more time to question not only Isabel's motives, but her own. This is, after all, a story of Grace's journey. Don't lose sight of her. The order stuff distracts ever so slightly, especially during the Christmas dinner scene. Runs a bit long, which wouldn't be a bad thing if we saw more of Grace's reaction to the events. Keep her a major focus. In my opinion, this is competition ready. You avoided amateur horror tropey stuff. This thing is all about the atmospheric dread and slow build mystery. And well done at that. I really enjoyed this, like a lot. Excellent pacing, economic use of white space, well-delivered character arcs, even down to the smaller characters, a fun spiritual mystery, a bloody climax. This thing's got a lot going for it. Whew, that was actually longer than I thought it was going to be. Thank you so much, Merrick Slovane, for that feedback. And now let's move on to Nave, our narrator. What were your thoughts?
Overall was really good, smartly written, well paced. The only real how do I put that? I'm exhausted. That was a lot of narration, which I enjoyed reading. But here we go. One moment where Jasper and Grace are inside of the storeroom. Jasper goes to make a play for Grace in a sexual way, to which she responds, "That's not happening," or rather, not happening. And just the phrase itself seems a little too modern, a little out of place. I'm certain there's another way that could have been said, could have gotten the same point across. Other than that, I found myself really liking it. So yay for you. The end. Goodbye.
All right, and Devon's just informed me this is draft 1.5-ish. Wow. All right. Cheddarman, what were your thoughts?
Well, thank you so much for submitting this wonderful script, Devon. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I thought it was a really cool story. Yeah. Couple things though. When, for example, on page 14, there's one of them. You have these dates that come up in a different font, and I was wondering if they're meant to be superimposed over the screen or an insert, or what is the deal with those, because it's just kind of text there in the script, so I don't know exactly what it is, but it doesn't really matter. Just maybe make that more clear. Also, on page 76, you refer to molten wax on the floor of the attic, and it would still be liquid if it was molten. Molten means that it's still in liquid form, and surely by now it would have solidified. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, I agree also with Kelly about the use of the F-bomb. I think some people like that in a period piece. They feel like it makes it feel more real, but for me it always kind of takes me out of it, because it does seem like a modern kind of thing to me, at least. But yeah, excellent job. I think that the setting is very well done too. I agree completely with Merrick Sylvain that you can really kind of picture the whole house in your mind. It seems like a real place already, and it's only just on the page. So great job with the world building and everything. It's really good.
Nice. Thank you, Cheddar. That was excellent feedback. All right. Pop Tart, who played Isabel. What were your thoughts on the script?
Oh golly! First of all, it was fantastic. I thought the introduction of everyone was very nice, and it was a satisfying bloodbath at the end. I felt the relationship of Elizabeth and Grace progressed quite quickly, and I mean that in a good way. Like, you got attached quite quickly. But I will, I guess, echo the statement of, in the second half, it feels like that is lost, or takes a backseat rather, because there are a lot of moments where you would think the logical thing for Grace to do would be to, go talk to Isabel or ask her something or try to, make that contact. And there's a little bit of that, like when they're whispering with each other. But even in chat, it was like there's 3 pages where Grace just says nothing or isn't heavily mentioned. And to me, with the media being so visual and so flexible, it would be nice to have her kind of slip away, or some sort of reminder to kind of have you hope that it's going to turn out much better than it is, that last thread. But every character that's in there, I felt was very realistic, very well written, and you like them all, and you don't like them at the moment you're not meant to. It's very good, and again, it doesn't fall into the trope. So thank you for writing such a wonderful script, Evan.
Excellent. Thank you, Pop Tart, for those notes. And Luke, I'm so sorry I missed you. Luke, what were your thoughts on the script?
And so this kind of genre, like, I never really go out of my way to watch or read anything from like a horror genre, but I'm curious from the occult. So in that sense, I really enjoyed this script because it was original. It had a fleshed out plot. Everything was just so well done. Like, these kind of things, they can tend to be lacking, in any kind of depth, but this absolutely had it. It was all there. It was original. There was some great twists, and the tone was really consistent, which is a really good thing to have for a draft 1.5. This is really, really impressive. So, and there's less characters, so that lets them develop more, which really helped to the story. It gives them a more climactic ending. You don't feel like you've missed anything when they've been killed off. So I have just a few nitpicks on it. The main thing that was in my head for the whole thing was Grace's morality when it comes to killing. When she goes away for a while and then comes back, she's really ready to just take Edmund's life there and then. But then later on, Edmund asks her to poison Michael, and she's very hesitant about that. But then again, in the climactic action scenes later on, she is also again ready to kill some demons and everything. It was a bit of a on and off switch, I felt. I think maybe earlier in the script, like maybe just while you're developing her a bit, when she's when we're getting to know her, sort of allude towards her the way she approaches these kind of things, what she thinks of it and everything like that, just so when she comes back and she's angry and she's ready to kill all of a sudden, like it's not such a big surprise. This could have just been me, but it felt a bit jarring at first. I agree that we needed to hear the backstory of Reese's tongue because that's a very curious thing. Like it stands out about his character, and I thought we were going to hear that, but we didn't. Having read for Jasper, the character felt like he's definitely not a good character, but he's on the side of Michael, who seems to be well-meaning, and in that sense, he just felt a lot like a follower for Michael, which I guess is supposed to be the point. But a lot of his interactions was either being really horrible towards the women, or just reacting to things and being hesitant about everything. I think maybe just build a little more for him. Michael mentions that Jasper is his son-in-law, and then later on Michael says that he isn't into that sort of family life, and it's a bit of a contradiction, and it's not pointed out. I don't remember if it was. So maybe allude to that. If it was an accident, change it a bit, because his reaction with his interactions with his father-in-law, what he thinks of him, could be a bit more character depth for him. And the last thing is very minor, and it only really applies to the people reading the script, but the word unblinking is used a lot, and at a point it becomes sort of mimetic in your mind. So maybe try and find some synonyms or other ways to describe it. But otherwise, absolutely love the script, especially for someone who's not a fan of the genre. So thank you for letting us read it.
Thank you, Luke. And please do scroll up in the chat to see what we were talking about while you were speaking. I think you'll enjoy it. Moving on to Jonas. What were your thoughts on the script?
Hey. So I'll start out by saying take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because one, I'm very nitpicky, and B, this movie is like not for me at all. I don't like horror, I don't like period dramas, and I don't like romance. So when I say I liked it and I had a lot of fun, that's, high praise. I'm not, none of the genres in it are genres that I go to see or really care about, but it's the character to character stuff and the intrigue and suspense parts work really solid. My favorite part was from, I want to say, about page 15 to page 90-ish, when it was all about how the characters were all trying to play around each other and hiding things, and the scene at dinner where Michael is giving his big speech and everyone's kind of like looking like side-eyeing and freaking out. That was great. So this movie is like the antithesis of what I go to as a movie goer and writer, and I liked it. So good job. It's like I said some stuff in this Twitch chat of that, like, I think this feels like exactly the kind of movie that would go on to win some kind of contest. Someone mentioned The Witch, which I think is a good comparison as far as like sort of genre and topic. And I wish I could think of more, but one of those low budget like Blumhouse movies that are easy to make and go and kill at the box office. That's what this feels like to me. And even better than many of those movies and other period dramas, it's not boring. It has stuff going on all the time. The pacing is really fast. It felt way faster than it was. Part of that was because obviously the action's broken up and Nave was reading it at 3 times speed, but the dialogue also moved quickly. The plot had good pacing and wasn't like stalling at every scene. The characters had motivations, and their motivations drove the plot, and that's good storytelling. I don't have a lot to critique, mostly because I just don't have a lot about the genre that I know about. I'll say that the dialogue, as other people had said, there were certain parts that felt really modern, and on a whole, the script didn't feel particularly. They didn't didn't feel like they were talking in the period, which is totally fine, as long as you tweak those parts that stick out. As long as the whole thing feels believable, it doesn't have to be like accurate. And the only other real thing I can say that the other people, the rest of our wonderful cast didn't say, is that I do not understand the last page. We got to that part and I was completely like, I don't know why she suddenly kills her dad. It not only did I not get like why that happened with Grace's character, but also I'd kind of forgotten who Robert was to her, and I had to go back to the start to double check. So I was, I don't know what that was about. I don't know if there's some big reason for it, but you know, she just murders her dad. Like, there's, you know, I don't think there was enough. People are shouting he was abusing her, and like, it's true. But by the time we get to that point, I'd forgotten about it because so much else had happened, and we don't, you know, that part is I hate to say telling not showing, because sometimes telling is important, but you know, it's just, it didn't feel like, it felt like an aside kind of thing. I didn't know that I never understood that she hated him enough to kill him. And by the time we got to the end, I had forgotten who he was. So some kind of reinforcement, maybe extend that first page a little bit. You do a very good job of avoiding torturous flashbacks, which I wouldn't ever recommend, but some kind of thing midway through the script or later in the script that that just reminds the people. Also, she's, you know, some sort of foreshadowing. I don't have a whole lot else to say. Like I said, you did a wonderful job of writing the script for someone who does not like any of the things in this script. I mean, typical to this genre script. I did like the things in the script. Don't want to mislead. I think that's all.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jonas. And now we will go back to Kat, who will be performing a limerick.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so unprepared. I'm halfway through a pint of Ben & Jerry's. There once was a girl, Isabel, possessed by a demon from hell. She seduced a maid and got herself laid and killed half of the cast as well.
Woo! That was excellent.
Bravo! Encore.
That's a Pop-Tarts.
That was great. Did you want to read the other limericks?
Yeah, let Pop-Tart read her.
Yeah.
I came up with another one.
Yeah, let's do it. Pop-Tart. Read your limerick, please.
Isabella was a demon girl, using magic to persuade the world, but she couldn't ride a horse, which messed up, of course, her nefarious Grand Escape plot.
Nice. Good job. And
the best part
who had our
of
other
Table
one?
Rides. Nave had one.
Nave, what was your limerick? You read it now.
There once was a lady named Grace. She fell for a demon in lace. She shouldn't have cuddled with the spiritually muddled or sucked on Izzy's face. The end.
Excellent. That's great. Well, I hope to hear more limericks next week. I think we should keep this going. It's fun. And so that's it, you guys. That's the end of our show. I think this was definitely, I don't know if it was the best table read ever. If it's not the best table read ever, it's in the top 3. The script was great. The performances were great. Feedback from viewers and readers was great. So I just feel really proud of you guys and so grateful that, you know, we get to do this, that writers submit scripts for us to read. It's a really great learning experience as a screenwriter. And for aspiring voice actors, it's a great way for them to practice. Giving feedback is a great way to learn how to better ourselves. So I just feel like everyone gets a lot out of it, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So that's the end of our show. If you want to submit a script, please go to twitchtablereads.com. We do this absolutely free. Come back next week, Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Go away.
Mwah. Good night, everybody.
Getting a
I'm
little-
lost.
Goodbye.